There are better ways to get over a breakup than waking up in a hotel room with no idea how you got there. I knew that. Everyone knew that. Unfortunately, knowing something and actually following it are two completely different skills. At 22, I was apparently much better at business analytics than I was at managing my personal life. My first thought that morning was that someone had replaced my brain with a construction site. My second thought was that I had no idea where I was. My third thought was, there was a woman sitting beside the window. I froze. Okay, that was new. Sunlight poured through the half-open curtains of what was clearly a hotel room. My jacket was hanging over the back of a chair. One shoe was near the door. The other was somehow under the desk. And the woman? She was calmly drinking coffee. Like this was a perfectly normal Sunday morning. She looked to be in her late 20s, with dark brown hair falling loosely over her shoulders and a face so striking that for several seconds I genuinely wondered whether my headache had developed visual effects. She wore a simple black sweater and looked completely awake, completely composed, and completely out of place in the disaster surrounding me. I sat up too quickly. My head immediately punished me. Oh, God. The woman looked over. Good morning. I stared at her. She raised one eyebrow. You look concerned. Concerned. My voice came out rough. I don't know where I am. Westbridge Hotel. I don't know how I got here. You walk. I stared harder. And I don't know who you are. That finally made her smile. Not a big smile. Just the smallest curve of her mouth. Evelyn. I waited. She took another sip of coffee. Evelyn Hayes. Okay. I looked around again. Hotel. Strange woman. Missing shoe. Terrible headache. I carefully lifted the blanket and confirmed I was still wearing yesterday's t-shirt and jeans. Good. At least one mystery solved. Then another thought hit me. Did we know? She answered before I finished. Relief hit immediately. Then embarrassment. Right. Evelyn looked amused. You looked terrified. I woke up in a hotel room with a stranger. Fair. And apparently I walked here. You did. Voluntarily. Mostly. I frowned. What does mostly mean? You walked into a decorative plant outside the elevator. I closed my eyes. Great. It survived. That's comforting. The hotel employee seemed less concerned about the plant than you were. I looked at her. I apologized to a plant. Twice. I covered my face. This was officially the worst morning of my life. Then I remembered yesterday and corrected myself. Second worst. Her name was Rachel, my ex-girlfriend. We had been together since sophomore year. Almost 2 years. Long enough that everyone around us assumed we'd survive graduation. I had assumed it too. Apparently, Rachel hadn't. 3 days before my senior year began, she sat across from me in a coffee shop and told me she wanted something different. Not someone different. Something, which was somehow worse. I feel like we've become predictable, she'd said. I remembered staring at her. Predictable. I thought that was what stability looked like. Apparently, I was wrong. She wanted freedom, new experiences, a chance to figure herself out without automatically including me in every future plan. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I told her I understood. Then I went home, stared at my ceiling for 4 hours, and accepted my best friend's invitation to go out the following night. That was where my memory became less reliable. I remembered a hotel bar. I remembered Daniel telling me I needed to stop looking like someone had canceled Christmas. I remembered him leaving with his girlfriend around midnight. And then, Evelyn. Fragments returned slowly. She had been sitting 2 seats away, alone. I remembered asking the bartender for water. Evelyn had looked over and said, "That's either very responsible or very late." I had laughed. Then we'd started talking. For some reason, I told a complete stranger everything. Rachel, college, graduation, the terrifying realization that I had spent years imagining a future that no longer existed. Evelyn hadn't offered useless advice. She hadn't said Rachel didn't deserve me. She hadn't told me everything happened for a reason. She had simply listened. Maybe that was why I kept talking. How much did I tell you last night? I asked. Evelyn put down her coffee. Do you want the comforting answer? No. Most of your life. I groaned. Perfect. You were surprisingly articulate. I don't believe you. You became less articulate around 2. That's more believable. She smiled. Then I noticed something on the table. A folded piece of hotel stationery. There was handwriting on it. Mine. I picked it up. 3 words. Dating is stupid. Underneath. In different handwriting. Strong opening argument. I looked at Evelyn. She lifted her cup. Academic feedback. I laughed despite myself. What do you do? For work? Yeah. I work at a university. That explained the comment. Administration? Something changed in her expression. Tiny. Almost invisible. Something like that. I nodded. I wasn't particularly interested in interrogating her. I was more concerned about discovering what other philosophical insights drunk Ryan had shared. I unfolded the rest of the paper. There was more. Dating is just a long interview where both people pretend they're normal. Underneath, debatable. Then, maybe marriage would work better if people skip dating. Underneath that, now you're getting interesting. I stared at the page. Oh, no. Evelyn's smile grew. What? I remember this conversation. Good. I was joking. Were you? Obviously. You seemed passionate. I was emotionally compromised. Convenient defense. I pointed at the paper. You encouraged me. I asked questions. You wrote, interesting. It was interesting. I stared at her. She stared back. And then, against all logic, we both laughed. Breakfast should have been awkward. It wasn't. That was the first problem. We went downstairs because Evelyn claimed coffee wasn't breakfast, and I desperately needed something capable of repairing my brain. I expected us to exchange polite goodbyes afterward. Instead, we spent another hour talking. Sober this time. That should have made things less strange. It made them stranger. Because I liked her. Not romantically. I wasn't insane. I had known her for approximately 9 hours, most of which I barely remembered, but I liked talking to her. Evelyn had a dry sense of humor that appeared without warning. She asked direct questions. She listened to the answers. And unlike most people I'd met, she seemed completely comfortable with silence. So you're a student, she said. Senior, major, business analytics. Westbridge. I nodded. Unfortunately, her eyebrow lifted. You don't like it. I love it. I'm just legally required to complain about tuition. Reasonable. Do you work nearby? Very. I didn't notice the careful answer. Not then. What about you? I asked. Why were you alone at a hotel bar? For the first time. She hesitated. Family dinner. Bad. Long. That's not the same thing. No. She looked down at her coffee. My family has opinions about my life. Parents. Mostly. Career. Marriage. I laughed. Sorry. You find my suffering funny. A little. She smiled. My mother believes 29 is a medical emergency. You're 29. Should I be offended? No. I shook my head quickly. You just seem old. I was going to say intimidating. That earned me a real laugh. Better. We walked out of the restaurant shortly before noon. This was the moment when normal people exchanged numbers and said something like, nice meeting you. Instead, Evelyn stopped on the sidewalk. Ryan, yeah. Do you remember what you said last night? Unfortunately, I'm remembering more every minute. About marriage. I stared at her. Oh, come on. I'm serious. That's worse. She folded her arms. You said people spend years trying to become the person they think someone else wants. I was drunk. You also said maybe two people would learn more about each other if they started with commitment instead of auditioning for it. I blinked. That sounds annoyingly intelligent. You said that too. Really? No. I laughed. Then I realized she wasn't laughing anymore. Evelyn. Yes. Why are we discussing this? She studied me for a moment, then said the most ridiculous sentence anyone had ever said to me. Marry me. I stared at her. A bus passed behind us. Someone crossed the street. A dog barked. The entire world continued functioning despite the fact that mine had apparently stopped. I'm sorry. Marry me. I heard you. Then why did you ask? Because I was hoping I'd hallucinated it. Her mouth twitched. Evelyn, we met last night. I know. I don't know your middle name. Rose. That wasn't the point. You know it now. I stared. She looked completely serious. This is insane. Probably. That's not helping. I didn't say it was sensible. Then why? That finally changed her expression. The humor faded. Because I'm tired of living my life according to everyone else's timeline. I said nothing. And you, she continued, spent half the night telling me you're tired of building your life around someone else's expectations. That doesn't mean we should get married. No. She nodded. It doesn't. Good. But you haven't said you don't want to. That shut me up. Because the horrifying part was, I hadn't. We talked for another 2 hours. Not about romance. About reality. Money. Careers. Living arrangements. Divorce. Boundaries. Everything two people absolutely should discuss before marriage. Just usually not 9 hours after meeting. At one point I asked, are you secretly wanted by the FBI? No. Debt? No. Organized crime. She looked offended. Seriously? I'm checking. Nothing illegal. Secret children? No. Husband? Ryan. Important question. No husband. I nodded. Good. Then she looked at me. Your turn. Nothing exciting. No criminal record. One parking ticket. Concerning. I paid it. Responsible. That's what Rachel used to say. The name slipped out. Evelyn didn't react strangely. She simply asked, do you still want her back? That question stopped me. I thought about Rachel. About 2 years. About all the plans. Then about the coffee shop. Predictable. I finally said, no. It was the first time I'd admitted it. Maybe even to myself. Evelyn nodded. Then don't marry me because of her. I wouldn't. Good. And don't marry me because your mother is annoying. That made her laugh. Deal. At 3:30 that afternoon, I stood outside the county clerk's office and wondered whether I had finally lost my mind. Evelyn stood beside me, calm as ever. I looked at her. This is your last chance to run. Your last chance to. I'm serious. So am I. We could regret this. Yes. We barely know each other. Also true. This could be the dumbest decision either of us ever makes. Evelyn looked at me. Then we'll deal with it like adults. I laughed nervously. You have an answer for everything. No. Her voice softened. I just don't need certainty about everything. That was probably the biggest difference between us. I wanted evidence. Plans. Predictable outcomes. Evelyn seemed willing to walk into uncertainty and figure it out along the way. Maybe that was why I followed her inside. Less than an hour later, I walked back onto the sidewalk holding paperwork that said Evelyn Rose Hayes and I were legally married. I stared at it, then at her, then back at it. Huh. Evelyn looked amused. I think I expected lightning. What? Divine intervention. Bit late. I'm married. Yes. To you. That's generally how this works. I looked at her. My mother is going to kill me. Mine might throw a party. Can we trade? No. I laughed. Then something strange happened. Evelyn held out her hand. Not dramatically. Not romantically. Just naturally. For a second, I stared at it. Then I took it. Her fingers closed around mine. And somehow, the insanity became quieter. Not sensible. Definitely not sensible. Just quieter. That evening, Evelyn drove me back to my apartment. Before I got out, she handed me a key. I stared at it. What is this? My apartment. Evelyn, we're married. We've been married for 4 hours. Still counts. I laughed. You're terrifying. So you've mentioned. I put the key in my pocket, then paused. What happens now? She looked at me. Tomorrow you go to class. Right. Senior year. I had almost forgotten. And you? Work. At the university. Yes. I nodded. Maybe I'll visit sometime. That strange, almost smile returned. You might. I should have noticed. I absolutely should have noticed. Instead, I opened the door. Good night, Evelyn. Good night, husband. I stopped. Looked back. She was smiling. My face became warm. Don't call me that. Why? It sounds weird. You are my husband. Technically. Legally. Worse. She laughed. I closed the door. That night, I lay in bed staring at my ceiling. 24 hours earlier, Rachel had been the last woman I'd ever imagined marrying. Now Rachel was my ex. And Evelyn Hayes, a woman whose middle name I'd learned approximately 6 hours before marrying her, was my wife. I should have panicked. Instead, I smiled. Maybe I was still losing my mind. Maybe tomorrow I'd wake up and realize this had been the worst decision of my life. My phone buzzed. Evelyn, don't be late tomorrow. I frowned. For class? Her reply came almost immediately. Yes. I typed. Why do you care? 3 dots appeared. Then, call it professional concern. I stared at the message. Professional? I should have asked what she meant. I didn't. That was my second mistake. My first had been marrying a stranger. Because the next morning, 12 minutes late for behavioral economics, I rushed into a packed lecture hall, dropped into the nearest empty seat, and barely looked toward the front. My friend leaned over. You're screwed. What? Hayes hates late students. I frowned. Who's Hayes? He stared at me. You seriously don't know? Before I could answer, the classroom door opened. The room went quiet. I looked up, and every functioning thought left my brain. Dark hair, calm eyes, professional blazer, laptop under one arm. The woman I'd married yesterday walked toward the podium. My wife. My actual wife. She placed her laptop down, looked across the lecture hall. Her eyes found mine. For half a second, something warm flickered there. Then it vanished. Her expression became cool, professional, untouchable. Good morning, she said. My name is Dr. Evelyn Hayes. My friend whispered beside me. Dude, why do you look like you've seen a ghost? I couldn't answer, because Professor Hayes looked directly at me. Mr. Carter, my stomach dropped. You're 12 minutes late. 30 students turned to stare at me. Evelyn didn't even blink. 5 points off your participation grade. And that was how I discovered the beautiful stranger I'd married less than 24 hours earlier was the most famous professor in my department. There are certain sentences you never expect to hear in college. Your tuition has been refunded. Your group project has been canceled. The final is optional. And apparently, the woman you married yesterday is your professor. I sat frozen in my seat while Dr. Evelyn Hayes turned toward the projection screen as if she hadn't just detonated my entire life. Around me, laptops opened, pens clicked, students settled into their seats. Nobody screamed. Nobody pointed at the front of the room and demanded an explanation, which meant I was the only person currently experiencing a crisis. My friend Noah leaned closer. Dude, I didn't move. Ryan, nothing. He waved a hand in front of my face. You alive? Debatable. He followed my stare toward Evelyn. Then his expression changed. Oh, my stomach tightened. Had he figured it out? Now I understand. I slowly turned. You do? Yeah. Noah nodded knowingly. You think she's hot? I stared at him. That was somehow both completely wrong and technically correct. No. Sure. Noah. Half the department has a crush on her. That sentence did something strange to me. I looked toward the front again. Evelyn was connecting her laptop to the projector. Professional blazer. Dark trousers. Hair neatly arranged. Completely different from the woman who had laughed at me over breakfast yesterday. My wife. And apparently half the department had a crush on her. I didn't like that information, which was ridiculous. I'd been married for less than a day. I didn't get to be jealous yet. Was there a waiting period? There should probably be a waiting period. How famous is she? I whispered. Noah looked at me like I'd asked who the president was. You seriously don't know Dr. Hayes? No. Where have you been? Apparently getting married. What? Nothing. He shook his head. She's one of the youngest professors in the department. Published everywhere. Students fight to get into her classes. Great. I had accidentally married academic royalty. She's also terrifying, Noah added. I looked at Evelyn. She chose that exact moment to turn. Our eyes met. Nothing changed on her face. Not even slightly. Then she said, Mr. Carter. My spine straightened automatically. Yes, If you're finished talking, perhaps you'd like to explain prospect theory to the class. Noah immediately looked down. Coward. I stared at my wife. She stared back. There was absolutely no mercy in her expression. You want me to explain it? I believe that's what I just asked. A few students glanced toward me. I swallowed, then answered. Thankfully, I'd actually done the reading. When I finished, Evelyn nodded once. Correct. That was it. No smile. No encouragement. Nothing. Then she continued the lecture. I leaned toward Noah. Terrifying. He nodded. Told you. I looked at the woman I'd married yesterday. Yeah, we were definitely having a conversation after class. The next 70 minutes were the longest of my academic career. Not because Evelyn was a bad professor. That would have made things easier. She was excellent. Annoyingly excellent. Clear. Confident. Sharp. She moved through complicated concepts without constantly checking her notes. Challenged answers without embarrassing anyone. And somehow kept a room full of seniors paying attention before 10 in the morning. I found myself listening despite my personal crisis, which created a new problem. I was impressed by my wife, my professor. I hated how absurd those two words sounded together. Professor wife, wife professor. No, absolutely not. I needed coffee, possibly legal advice, maybe both. When class finally ended, students began packing their bags. I was already standing when Evelyn spoke. Mr. Carter. I stopped. Noah gave me a sympathetic look. Good luck. Thanks. She probably just wants to discuss the 5 points. That's definitely it. If only. Then Evelyn added, my office. Noah winced. You're dead. Several students looked at me with the kind of sympathy normally reserved for people awaiting sentencing. I watched Evelyn collect her laptop. She didn't look at me again. Then she walked out. I waited 5 seconds. 10. Then followed. Her office was on the 4th floor. Of course it was. Every step gave me more time to become annoyed. By the time I reached her door, I'd prepared approximately 17 arguments. Evelyn was already inside. She sat behind her desk reading something on her laptop. I walked in, closed the door, waited. Nothing. Evelyn. Her eyes remained on the screen. Professor Hayes during university hours. I stared at her. Excuse me. Now she looked up, and there it was. That tiny hint of amusement. I knew it. You think this is funny? A little. You knew. About. I pointed toward the hallway. This. My employment. Yes. Your employment. She leaned back. I told you I worked at a university. You did not tell me you were a professor. You didn't ask. Normal people don't need to ask a woman they met in a hotel. Hey, before we get married, are you secretly teaching one of my classes? That almost broke her. Almost. I saw her mouth twitch. That's very specific. Because it happened. She finally laughed. And there she was. Not Dr. Hayes. Evelyn. My Evelyn. Wait. No, not my Evelyn. We'd been married for 20 hours. I needed to stop thinking like that. You knew I attended Westbridge. Yes. You knew my major. Yes. You knew I had behavioral economics today. Yes. I stared. And you still said nothing? She folded her hands. I wanted to see your face. I couldn't believe it. You are a terrible person. I've been called worse. You deducted 5 points. You were 12 minutes late. I'm your husband. Exactly. I blinked. How does that make it worse? If I ignore your lateness, people might think I'm showing favoritism. Nobody knows we're married. That doesn't make favoritism ethical. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. Unfortunately, she had a point. I hated when people had points while I was angry. So you're going to treat me worse because we're married? No, that sounded suspiciously like yes. I'm going to treat you exactly like everyone else. You don't take 5 points from everyone. I do if they're 12 minutes late. I stared at her. She stared back. Then I sighed. This marriage is already affecting my GPA. Evelyn smiled. 20 hours. Impressive. I dropped into the chair across from her desk. Okay. We need to discuss the obvious problem. Her amusement disappeared. She nodded. Yes. That caught me off guard. I had expected another joke. Instead, she became serious. I already contacted the department chair this morning. I frowned. You did? Before class. About us. Not by email. Why? Because I'd rather explain a 24-hour marriage in person. Fair. What happens now? You're enrolled in my course. I noticed. As your spouse, I shouldn't have sole authority over your academic assessment. My stomach tightened. Are you going to make me drop? Probably not. Probably. There's another section, but it conflicts with one of your required courses. She turned her laptop toward me. She'd already checked. Of course she had. So, I'll request independent grading, meaning another faculty member can evaluate your major written assignments and exams. Your attendance and in-class participation can be documented transparently. I stared at her. You planned all this already. I woke up early. You could have woken me up. You looked peaceful. That simple sentence changed the atmosphere. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then Evelyn looked away first. We need boundaries. Ryan. I nodded. I know. At school. I'm your professor. And outside. Her eyes returned to mine. Something softened. Outside. We'll figure out what being married means. That should have scared me. Instead, I felt strangely relieved. I stood. So we're pretending we don't know each other. Not exactly. People will notice if I suddenly act like you've never met me. You hadn't met me as far as anyone here knows. Right. I reached the door, then stopped. Evelyn. Yes. I looked back. You really wanted to see my face. The cool professor expression disappeared again. She smiled. Very much. I shook my head. You're evil. Don't be late Wednesday. Threat. Professional advice. I opened the door, then heard. Ryan. I turned. Her voice was quieter. Come over tonight. I blinked. What? For the first time all morning. Evelyn looked almost uncertain. We should probably learn something about each other. I smiled. Before or after our first anniversary? She rolled her eyes. 7. I left. Noah was waiting near the stairwell. Of course he was. He practically attacked me. What happened? Nothing. She kept you in there 20 minutes. Academic discussion. About my future. Technically true. He stared. Did she threaten to fail you? No. Then why do you look like that? Like what? Confused. I laughed. You have no idea. At 6:58 that evening, I stood outside Evelyn's apartment holding flowers. I didn't know why. Actually, I did. My mother raised me correctly. You don't visit your wife empty-handed. Even if you met your wife yesterday. Even if your wife deducted points from your grade that morning. Especially then. I stared at the flowers. This is stupid. The door opened. Evelyn looked at me, then at the flowers, then back at me. You know I have a doorbell. I was thinking about running. Briefly, she smiled. What are those? Peace offering. For what? I don't know. You're the one who stole 5 points. Then shouldn't I bring you flowers? Good point. She took them anyway, and smiled in a way that made me suddenly very glad I'd bought them. Come in. Her apartment surprised me. Not because it was expensive. It clearly was. But because it didn't feel like the home of the intimidating Dr. Hayes everyone talked about. There were books everywhere. A blanket folded badly across the couch. A coffee mug on the counter that said, I'm not arguing. I'm explaining why I'm right. I picked it up. Seriously. Evelyn looked over from the kitchen. A gift. From someone who knows you extremely well. My sister. I like her already. You haven't met her. She understands you. Evelyn narrowed her eyes. Careful. I laughed. Then noticed 2 plates on the table. You cook. I ordered. Good. She looked offended. You don't trust my cooking. I don't know enough about you to trust anything. Yet you married me. Excellent point. Dinner became an interview. Only neither of us called it that. Favorite food. Italian for me. Thai for her. Favorite season. Fall for both. Morning person. Her. Yes. Me. Absolutely not. Pets. I wanted a dog. She wanted a dog, but claimed her schedule made it irresponsible. Movies? She liked old romantic comedies. That surprised me. What? She asked. Nothing. Ryan, you don't seem like a romantic comedy person. What do I seem like? Documentaries about economic collapse. She stared at me, then threw a napkin. I laughed. It felt good. Too good. Eventually, the easy questions ended. Evelyn leaned back. Why did Rachel leave? I looked at my plate. She said we'd become predictable. Do you believe her? About being predictable. About that being the reason. I thought about it. I think she wanted a different life. Than you. Maybe. Evelyn didn't insult her. I appreciated that. Did you love her? Yes. Do you still? I looked at Evelyn. It was a dangerous question for a wife to ask her husband on their second day of marriage. But there was no jealousy in her expression. Only curiosity. I don't know. She nodded. Fair. Does that bother you? No. Really. I didn't marry you because I expected your history to disappear. I studied her. You say things like you've thought about marriage for years. I have. Then why were you single? She smiled without humor. Because wanting marriage and wanting the available options are different things. I laughed. That's brutal. It's honest. What were your options? Men my family introduced. Bad. Successful. That's not an answer. Exactly. I understood. Later, we moved to the couch. Evelyn tucked one leg beneath herself. Without the blazer and professor voice, she seemed younger, softer, more approachable. It was strange knowing 30 students probably believed she went home every evening and read research papers for entertainment. What does your family do? I asked. She hesitated. Real estate. Investments. Some hospitality. Big. Another pause. Fairly. I narrowed my eyes. That's rich person language. She laughed. Probably. How rich? Does it matter? No. And surprisingly, it didn't. She studied me as if testing whether I meant it. Apparently satisfied. She relaxed. My father started Hayes Capital with his brother. I knew that name. Everyone did. I stared. Wait. Evelyn sighed. Here we go. Hayes Capital. Yes. Your father is Charles Hayes. Yes. I leaned back. Okay. Say it. I accidentally married a professor and an heiress. I prefer professor. I prefer advance warning. You never asked. I pointed at her. That defense is becoming unacceptable. She laughed. At 10:30, I stood to leave. Evelyn's expression changed. You don't have to. I stopped. The apartment became very quiet. She quickly added, the guest room. Oh, obviously. Right. Neither of us looked particularly convincing. I glanced toward the hallway, then back at her. I should probably go home. Okay. Was that disappointment? Maybe. Or maybe I was imagining things. I put on my jacket. Evelyn walked me to the door. Ryan. Yeah. Are you regretting it? The question was so quiet that I almost didn't recognize her voice. No professor confidence. No teasing. Just Evelyn. I thought carefully before answering. I don't understand it. She waited. I think it's completely insane. Still waiting. My mother may actually disown me. That earned the faintest smile. But no. I shook my head. I don't regret it. Something in her shoulders relaxed. Good. What about you? No. Immediate. No hesitation. That affected me more than it should have. I smiled. Good night. Professor Hayes. Her eyes narrowed. Don't. What? Call me that here. Why? Because I'm not your professor here. I leaned against the doorway. What are you? She looked at me, then smiled. Your wife. My heart did something extremely inconvenient. I cleared my throat. Right. Evelyn stepped slightly closer. Not touching, just close enough that I noticed. Good night. Husband. There was that word again. And this time, I didn't tell her to stop. Wednesday morning. I arrived 12 minutes early. Noah stared at me. Who are you? I've changed. Since Monday. Personal growth. Hayes scared you. That too. Students filled the lecture hall. Then Evelyn walked in. Professional again. Composed. Untouchable. She passed my row without looking at me. I found myself smiling. Noah noticed. Why are you smiling? I'm not. You are. Before he could continue, Evelyn placed her materials on the podium. Good morning. The room quieted. Her eyes moved across the students, then briefly stopped on me. Nice to see everyone arrived on time. Nobody else heard the hidden message, but I did. And somehow, sharing a secret with the most intimidating professor at Westbridge felt dangerously fun. Until class ended, because as everyone packed up, Evelyn said, Mr. Carter. I looked up. Noah whispered again. Evelyn continued calmly. My office after your last class. Everyone around me looked sympathetic. I tried not to smile, because they thought Professor Hayes was about to destroy me. They had no idea my wife had texted me 20 minutes earlier. Dinner at my place. And don't make me wait. This marriage was completely insane. The worst part, I was beginning to like it. By the end of my first week of senior year, I had learned 3 important things. First, behavioral economics was going to be harder than I expected. Second, Dr. Evelyn Hayes was exactly as terrifying as everyone claimed. Third, being secretly married to your professor made even ordinary campus life feel like an elaborate crime. Not an actual crime, but try walking past your wife in a crowded hallway while pretending the two of you hadn't eaten breakfast together that morning. Then tell me it doesn't feel suspicious. Friday morning, I arrived at class early again. Apparently marriage had improved my punctuality. Noah dropped into the seat beside me. This is getting weird. What? You? I looked up from my laptop. Very specific. You've been early 3 classes in a row. People change. No. He shook his head. Fear changes people. Maybe I respect Professor Hayes. Noah stared at me, then laughed. What? Nothing. No. Say it. He leaned closer. You said her name differently. My heart skipped. I said Professor Hayes. Exactly. That's her name. You sounded. He narrowed his eyes. I waited. Happy. I almost laughed from relief. You're analyzing the way I say names now. I have a boring life. Clearly, before he could continue, the classroom door opened. Evelyn entered. My attention immediately shifted. That was becoming a problem. At home, or technically at her apartment, Evelyn wore oversized sweaters, tied her hair back carelessly, and stole food from my plate after insisting she wasn't hungry. Here, Dr. Hayes looked like she'd been created specifically to intimidate undergraduates. Dark blazer, white blouse, perfectly composed expression. Not a trace of the woman who had texted me at midnight asking whether cereal counted as dinner. Her eyes swept across the room. They reached me, stopped for less than a second, moved on. That half second still felt like a private conversation. Good morning. Everyone quieted. Evelyn began the lecture. 20 minutes later, she asked a question. Nobody answered. She waited. Still nothing. Then her eyes found me. Mr. Carter. Of course. I straightened. Yes. Would you like to rescue your classmates? Noah whispered. She's obsessed with you. I nearly choked. Evelyn's eyebrow moved. Barely. She had heard him. Fantastic. I answered the question. She nodded. Good. Then continued. Noah leaned over. Seriously. Stop. She always calls on you. Because I participate. You didn't participate. You were staring at her. My stomach dropped. I was listening. With your eyes. That's generally how seeing works. He shook his head. Suspicious. I turned back toward the front. Evelyn was writing something on the board. Then my phone vibrated silently against my leg. I glanced down. A message. Evelyn asterisk stop looking guilty. Asterisk I nearly smiled. I typed beneath the desk. Me asterisk Noah thinks you're obsessed with me. Asterisk 3 seconds later. Evelyn asterisk your friend is smarter than he looks. Asterisk I stared at the message. Then at her. She didn't turn around. I typed. Me asterisk Professor Hayes. Are you flirting with a student during class? Asterisk her reply. Evelyn asterisk put your phone away. Mr. Carter. Asterisk I looked up. She turned at exactly that moment. Completely expressionless. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. This woman was dangerous. After class, I didn't go to her office. That was deliberate. We had agreed we needed to stop creating patterns. Getting called into Professor Hayes' office after every lecture would eventually make people curious. Instead, I went to lunch with Noah. My phone buzzed halfway through. Evelyn asterisk, are you coming over tonight? Asterisk, I stared at it. Noah immediately noticed. Who is that? My landlord. You don't have a landlord. I absolutely have a landlord. Your apartment belongs to your uncle. I frowned. Why do you know so much about my life? Because we've been friends for 4 years. Fair. I put my phone face down. Nobody. Noah's expression changed. Oh, what? There's a woman. No, that's exactly what a man with a woman says. I don't have a woman. Technically, I had a wife. Different category. Noah grinned. Is this why you're not upset about Rachel anymore? That question caught me off guard. I hadn't realized it until he said it. Rachel. I hadn't thought about her all morning. Or yesterday. Actually, the last time I'd thought seriously about my breakup was the night I'd married Evelyn. That should have bothered me. Instead, I felt strangely peaceful. I'm still processing it. Noah nodded. Then his expression softened. You okay? Yeah. And for once, I meant it. That evening, I arrived at Evelyn's apartment carrying takeout. She opened the door wearing sweatpants and one of the soft sweaters I'd already learned she preferred at home. I stared. She frowned. What? Nothing. Ryan, you're weird. Why? This morning you looked like you could fire an entire corporation. I'm a professor. Now you look like you should be watching bad television. I do watch bad television. I know. She stepped aside. Come in. I handed her the bag. She looked inside. Ty, you said it was your favorite. Something in her expression softened. You remembered. Of course. The words came naturally. Evelyn stared at me for a second longer than necessary, then quietly said, Thank you. I didn't know why that tiny reaction affected me more than any dramatic one could have. We ate at the kitchen counter. Halfway through dinner, Evelyn became serious. I spoke to the department chair. I put down my fork, and he was surprised. I imagine. I left out the hotel story. Thank you. He doesn't need that much context. Nobody needs that much context. She smiled, then continued. He approved an independent grading arrangement. Relief hit me. So I can stay in your class. Yes. And you won't grade my exams. Professor Langwell. Great. Your attendance will still be recorded normally. I pointed at her. So you can still deduct points. If you're late. Marriage is a scam. Evelyn laughed. Then her expression became thoughtful. There is another issue. What? Disclosure. I stopped. To who? The department knows. Okay. But students don't need to. I understood. You want to keep a secret. For now. She said it carefully. Not ashamed. Not hesitant. Just practical. I nodded. Probably smart. Are you okay with that? Yeah. She studied my face. Really? Evelyn, we've been married 5 days. 6. I blinked. You're counting. Her cheeks changed slightly. Barely. But I saw it. Of course I'm counting. Something warm moved through my chest. I looked down at my food. 6 days. Yes. Longest marriage I've ever had. She kicked my ankle lightly under the counter. I laughed. Later, we sat on the couch. Evelyn had papers spread across the coffee table. I was working on an assignment. For another professor. We had agreed that having my wife help me with her own course would be an academic disaster waiting to happen. After 20 minutes, I looked over. She was marking papers. Red pen. Very serious expression. I watched her circle something. What did they do? She didn't look up. Used correlation to claim causation. I winced. Death penalty. Considering it. You're cruel. I'm educating. You enjoy the red pen too much. Now she looked at me. You should be careful. Why? You'll submit your first paper next week. Professor Lang grades mine. Evelyn narrowed her eyes. I smiled. Powerless. She reached over and stole one of my chips. Hey, marriage tax. That's not a thing. It is now. I stared at her. She ate the chip. Completely shameless. You know, you're nothing like Professor Hayes. She paused. What does that mean? At school, I closed my laptop. Everyone thinks you're terrifying. I am terrifying. No. She looked offended. I'm not. Not really. Ryan, you own fuzzy socks. Her eyes narrowed. Those are comfortable. You cried during that movie Wednesday. I did not. You absolutely did. Something was in my eye. Emotion. She threw a pillow at me. I caught it. Then we both laughed. When the laughter faded, I realized we were sitting closer than before. Not touching. Almost. Evelyn noticed too. The atmosphere changed. Just enough. I looked at her. She looked at me. Neither of us spoke. This was the part nobody explained when two strangers got married. The paperwork was easy. The difficult part was figuring out when a stranger stopped feeling like one. Evelyn looked away first. Ryan. Yeah. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you agree? I knew immediately what she meant. To marry you. She nodded. I'd asked myself the same question every day. I don't know. She smiled faintly. Very romantic. I'm serious. I thought for a moment. Everything in my life had been planned. School, career, Rachel. I looked toward the window. I knew where I thought I'd be at 25, 30, everything. And then one conversation destroyed the whole plan. Evelyn listened quietly. When you asked me to marry you, it was the first decision I'd made in years that wasn't part of some 5-year plan. Rebellion. Maybe. That answer didn't feel complete. I looked at her, but I think there was something else. What? You. Her expression changed. I continued before I could overthink it. You didn't make me feel pathetic for being upset about Rachel. Why would I? People do that. I shrugged. They say she didn't deserve me, or I should forget her, or immediately find someone better. And I didn't. No, you just listened. Evelyn's voice softened. Sometimes people don't need advice. Exactly. Silence. Then I asked, why did you say yes? She smiled. I proposed. Fine. Why did you propose? That made her quiet. For once, she didn't have a quick answer. Finally, because you were kind. I laughed. That's it. No. She shook her head. But that's where it started. She looked down at her hands. You were heartbroken, and you never said one cruel thing about Rachel. I remembered pieces of that night. You told me she left because she wanted a different life. Yeah, and then you said. Evelyn hesitated. What? That someone isn't evil just because they stopped loving you. I went still. I remembered. Barely. I'd said it while staring into a glass of water at 2 in the morning. Evelyn continued. I meet a lot of people who become cruel when they're rejected. Her eyes met mine. You were hurt, but you still wanted her to be happy. I didn't know what to say. So you married me. She smiled. No. Good. Because that's a terrifying selection process. She laughed softly. I married you because I wanted to know what kind of man says something like that when nobody important is listening. The room became very quiet. For some reason, that was the first moment our marriage stopped feeling like a joke. I looked at Evelyn. Have you regretted it? No. Immediate again. She never hesitated when I asked that. I smiled. You're very confident. About some things. And us. A pause. Then, I think we could be good. Not perfect. Not destined. Good. Strangely, that meant more. I think so too. Evelyn smiled. Then she moved closer. Slowly enough that I could have moved away. I didn't. Her head rested against my shoulder. That was all. Nothing dramatic. Nothing complicated. Just warmth. Trust. I sat there for several seconds before relaxing. Then I put my arm around her. Evelyn immediately settled closer. I smiled. You planned this. No. You're suspiciously comfortable. I'm tired. Convenient. Be quiet. I laughed. 20 minutes later, Evelyn was asleep against me. I didn't move. My arm was beginning to go numb. My laptop was out of reach. My phone buzzed twice on the table. I ignored everything. Because my wife was sleeping against my chest. My wife. 6 days ago, that word would have sounded impossible. Now, it was beginning to sound strangely natural. Monday changed everything again. Not dramatically. Just enough to remind me our secret wasn't going to be easy. I was walking across campus with Noah when we saw Evelyn ahead. She was speaking with another professor. Noah immediately lowered his voice. Hayes, I can see. Do you think she ever smiles? I almost laughed. If only he knew. Probably. No chance. At that moment, Evelyn looked toward us. Our eyes met. Instinctively. I almost smiled. Then remembered. Nobody can know. So I looked away. We passed each other like strangers. No greeting. No acknowledgement. Nothing. It shouldn't have bothered me. We had agreed. But it did. A little. That evening, I opened Evelyn's apartment door with the key she'd given me. Hey. No answer. I found her in the kitchen. She looked at me, then looked away. I immediately knew something was wrong. What happened? Nothing. That was never true. Evelyn. She continued chopping vegetables. I leaned against the counter. Professor Hayes. She stopped. Slowly turned. Don't call me that here. Then tell me what's wrong. She sighed. You walked past me today. I blinked. We agreed. I know. Then. She looked almost embarrassed. I didn't like it. That surprised me. You didn't. No. I smiled before I could stop myself. Her eyes narrowed. Why are you smiling? Because this is kind of cute. I'm serious. So am I. She put down the knife. Ryan. I walked closer. We have to pretend at school. I know. But we don't have to like it. Her expression softened. No. I stopped in front of her. No. I don't like pretending you're nobody. That sentence hit harder than it should have. I looked at her. I'm not nobody. I know. Neither are you. Silence. Then Evelyn quietly said, Can I have a hug? I blinked. What? Her confidence disappeared completely. My husband walked past me like a stranger today. She opened her arms slightly. So I'd like compensation. I laughed. Compensation? Yes. That's very scientific. Ryan. I stepped forward. She wrapped her arms around me immediately. And for the first time, I hugged her without thinking about how strange it was. No hesitation. No awkwardness. Just Evelyn. She rested her cheek against my chest. I held her a little tighter. This enough? No. I laughed. Demanding. You're married now. Adjust. I looked down at her. She looked up. For one dangerous second, neither of us moved. Then my phone rang. I closed my eyes. Evelyn sighed. Ignore it. It might be important. I don't care. I laughed and checked. Noah. I answered. What? His voice exploded through the phone. Dude. Campus forum. Now. I frowned. What? You need to see this. My stomach tightened. I looked at Evelyn. She noticed immediately. What happened? I don't know. I opened the university forum. The first trending post appeared. It wasn't about us. Not yet. It was a photograph of Evelyn leaving campus beside the professor she'd been talking to earlier. The headline read, ISDR. Hayes finally dating someone? I stared at it. Then at my wife. Something unpleasant twisted in my chest. Evelyn read over my shoulder, then looked up. Ryan, yeah. Are you jealous? No. She smiled. I hated that smile. Absolutely not. Her smile grew. I'm your husband. I have no reason to be jealous. Of course. And I don't care what random people think. Obviously. Evelyn. She laughed. And that's when I discovered another problem with secretly marrying the most famous professor on campus. Apparently, I could handle keeping the marriage secret. What I couldn't handle was everyone else thinking my wife was single. Jealousy is a stupid emotion. I decided that at 8:14 on Monday night, while sitting at my wife's kitchen counter, staring at a blurry photograph of her standing beside another man. To be clear, there was nothing romantic about the picture. Professor Michael Grant stood at least 2 feet away from Evelyn. He wasn't touching her. She wasn't smiling at him. They were carrying folders and apparently discussing something so boring that even the person who took the photo had needed a dramatic headline to make it interesting. None of that mattered. The comments were the problem. Professor Grant and Dr. Hayes would actually be perfect together. I frowned. Another. Finally, the Ice Queen has found her match. My frown deepened. Another. Imagine their kids. They'd come out with PhDs. Idiots. Across the kitchen, Evelyn stopped pouring water. What? Nothing. She walked over. I immediately locked my phone. That was suspicious. Her eyebrow rose. What were you reading? Financial news. Ryan. Sports. She held out her hand. Give me the phone. No. What? Privacy. We're married. That doesn't eliminate constitutional rights. She stared at me. I lasted 4 seconds, then handed it over. Evelyn unlocked the screen. The forum post appeared. She read several comments, then looked at me. I prepared myself. She smiled. Oh, no. What? You're adorable. I almost stood up. I want a divorce. She laughed. You've been married 1 week. Exactly. Clean exit. You were reading the comments. I was conducting research on whether strangers think I should date Michael. His name is Michael? Her smile widened. I realized my mistake immediately. I don't care. Clearly. Who's Michael? Professor Grant. I gathered that. He teaches organizational psychology. Fascinating. He's 41. I didn't ask. Divorced. Still didn't ask. Very nice. Evelyn. She was enjoying this far too much. I pointed at her phone. Our marriage is secret. Fine. I agreed. Yes. But there should be rules. What rules? I hadn't thought that far ahead. No fake dating rumors. Evelyn laughed. I didn't create the post. You could comment. And say what? I opened my mouth. Nothing. She waited. Then, with obvious amusement, sorry, everyone, I'm secretly married to one of my students. So please stop shipping me with Michael. I closed my eyes. That would be worse. Considerably. She put my phone down, then walked around the counter until she was standing beside me. Ryan, what? I'm not dating Michael. I know. I'm not interested in Michael. I know. And I don't care who strangers on a university forum think I should marry. I looked at her. Because you're already married. Her expression softened. Exactly. That helped. More than I wanted to admit. The next morning, I discovered Evelyn had decided to punish me for being jealous. Not officially. Officially, Dr. Hayes remained perfectly professional. Unofficially, my wife was evil. Halfway through class, she displayed a case study about decision-making under emotional pressure. Mr. Carter. I looked up. Of course. Yes. Professor Hayes. Suppose an individual has incomplete information but still experiences a strong emotional reaction. Noah glanced at me. I already knew where this was going. Evelyn continued. What cognitive biases might influence his judgment? Asterisk his. Asterisk not asterisk there. Asterisk his. I stared at her. She stared back. 29 other students had no idea a marital argument was happening in front of them. Possibly confirmation bias. I answered. Good. Emotional reasoning. Also good. And perhaps the individual should avoid reading anonymous internet comments at midnight. A few students laughed. Evelyn's mouth almost moved. Almost. An unusually specific example. Mr. Carter. I believe in practical applications. Noah whispered. What is happening? I ignored him. Evelyn moved to the next slide. Marriage was war. Apparently. After class, I packed my laptop. Noah grabbed my arm. Wait. What? He looked toward Evelyn. Then at me. Do you know her? My heart stopped. What? Hayes. She's my professor. No. He shook his head. Like actually know her. Why would you think that? You two are weird. That was not good. We're not weird. She calls on you constantly. Because I know the material. You argue with her. Academically. She almost smiled at you. I laughed. You're imagining things. Noah narrowed his eyes. Are you sleeping with Professor Hayes? My entire body froze. He immediately laughed. Dude, your face. That's not funny. It's a little funny. Noah, relax. I'm kidding. I forced myself to breathe. Don't say stuff like that. He held up his hands. Okay. Then he leaned closer. But if you somehow managed to date Professor Hayes, I want it officially documented that I predicted it. I stared at him. If only he knew how late his prediction was. That afternoon, Evelyn texted me. My office. For 30. I replied. Am I in trouble? Always. Professor Hayes scares me. A few seconds later. Your wife doesn't. I smiled. My wife owns fuzzy socks. Three dots. For 30. Mr. Carter, don't be late. At exactly 4:29. I knocked. Come in. Professor voice. I opened the door. Evelyn sat behind her desk. There was another woman in the room. I stopped. Evelyn immediately became formal. Mr. Carter, this is Professor Lang. The woman smiled. Late 40s. Friendly expression. Ryan, nice to meet you. You too. Professor Lang gestured toward a chair. We wanted to explain the grading arrangement. Right. Important. I sat. For the next 15 minutes. We discussed how my assignments would be anonymized and independently evaluated. Everything was organized, transparent, professional. I appreciated that. More importantly, I appreciated that Evelyn had taken the issue seriously before it became a problem. Professor Lang closed her folder. Your marriage won't affect your academic standing. I nodded. Thank you. Then she smiled. And congratulations. That still felt strange. Thanks. She stood. Before leaving, she looked between us, then laughed softly. You two really did make this complicated. You have no idea, I said. Evelyn gave me a warning look. Professor Lang left. The door closed. Silence. 3 seconds. 4. Then Evelyn stood. Professor Hayes disappeared. Completely. She walked around the desk. Hi. I blinked. Hi. She stopped directly in front of me. You walked past me twice today. We've discussed this. I know. And I didn't like it. I laughed. Evelyn. She opened her arms. I stared. What? Hug. Here. The door is locked. You're unbelievable. Ryan. She actually pouted. Dr. Evelyn Hayes. Published academic. Campus ice queen. Woman feared by hundreds of students. Pouting because her husband hadn't hugged her all day. Nobody would ever believe me. I stood. Fine. She immediately wrapped her arms around my waist. I laughed. You're supposed to be terrifying. I am. Not right now. Be quiet. Her cheek rested against my chest. My arms went around her naturally. That was happening more often. The hesitation was disappearing. I didn't know whether that was good or dangerous. Probably both. How was your day? She asked. Your class was annoying. My class was excellent. Your professor was mean. Your professor thinks you talk too much. My wife likes when I talk. Evelyn pulled back just enough to look at me. Sometimes. Wow. She smiled. Then her eyes dropped briefly. Not far. Just enough that I noticed. The air changed. Again. These moments kept happening. A look held too long. Standing too close. Silence becoming something else. We were legally married. But emotionally, we were still learning where the boundaries were. Neither of us seemed willing to rush. I like that. Evelyn stepped back first. Dinner. Your place. She nodded. Unless you have plans. I have homework. Responsible. For your class. Her expression became instantly professional. Then homework first. I stared. Seriously? Yes. You're choosing professor over wife. Education matters. Marriage was a mistake. She laughed. Over the next 2 weeks, we developed a routine. A completely ridiculous routine. Monday through Friday. Evelyn and I were practically strangers on campus. At 8 in the morning, she might be standing in my kitchen drinking coffee from my mug. At 10, she'd walk past me outside the library without acknowledgement. At noon, I'd receive a text. Did you eat? At 1, I'd see Professor Hayes discussing research with faculty members. At 4, she'd send, home tonight. Home. That word started appearing more often. At first, home meant her apartment. Then it became difficult to remember why I still paid rent somewhere else. My toothbrush was at Evelyn's. Half my clothes were at Evelyn's. My favorite coffee mug had somehow migrated there. One Thursday night, I opened her closet and found an entire empty section. I looked over. What's this? Evelyn was sitting on the bed reading. What? You cleared space. For you. What? She lowered the book. Ryan. Yeah. You've slept here 11 of the last 14 nights. I counted mentally. She was right. That's disturbing. What is? That you counted. She smiled. I noticed things. I looked at the empty closet. Something about it felt bigger than it should have. Not dramatic. Just deliberate. She was making room for me. Literally. I hung my jacket inside. Then another. Evelyn watched. Neither of us said anything. We didn't need to. That weekend, I met her sister. Not intentionally. I was making pancakes Saturday morning when the apartment door opened. A woman's voice called, Evelyn. I froze. Evelyn, sitting at the counter in my sweatshirt. Froze too. A blonde woman walked into the kitchen. Stopped. Looked at Evelyn. Looked at me. Looked at Evelyn's sweatshirt. Actually, my sweatshirt. Then looked at the pancakes. Silence. Interesting. Evelyn closed her eyes. Claire, good morning. Why are you here? I have a key. That doesn't answer the question. Claire ignored her and looked at me. You must be Ryan. My spatula nearly fell. You know. Claire smiled. My sister called me the day after she married a stranger. I looked at Evelyn. You told her. I needed someone to know. Claire sat at the counter. I'm offended by someone. I'm her favorite sibling. You're my only sibling. Still counts. She looked at me. So, you're 22. Evelyn groaned. Claire, what? I'm gathering information. I'm standing right here. Good. Easier. I liked Claire immediately, possibly because she annoyed Evelyn. Breakfast became an interrogation. Family, parents and younger brother. Career plan. Data consulting. Probably. Criminal history. 1 parking ticket. Claire looked at Evelyn. You checked that already? Yes. I pointed. She did. Claire nodded approvingly. Responsible. Then, do you love her? Silence. My hand stopped halfway toward my coffee. Evelyn's expression changed. Claire. What? You can't ask that. Why? We've been married 3 weeks. Exactly. Usually people answer that before the wedding. I looked at Evelyn. She looked at me. Neither of us answered. Claire immediately understood she'd gone too far. Her expression softened. Sorry. It's okay, I said. And it was because I didn't know? Not yet. But something had changed. 3 weeks ago, the answer would have been obviously no. Now, I couldn't answer quickly. That scared me more. Claire left around noon. At the door, she hugged Evelyn, then surprised me by hugging me too. Take care of her. I glanced at Evelyn. I'll try. Claire smiled. She acts tough. I've noticed. But she isn't. Evelyn protested from behind us. I can't hear you. Claire ignored her, then quietly said, she doesn't let people in easily. That stayed with me after she left. Evelyn cleaned the kitchen. I watched her. Your sister likes me. Unfortunately, she told me something. Evelyn stopped. What? That you don't let people in. Her expression became guarded. Claire talks too much. Is she wrong? Silence. Then, no. I moved closer. Why me? Evelyn looked at me. I already told you. Because I was nice when Rachel dumped me. Partly. That's not enough to marry someone. I know. Then what? She put down the towel. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, do you remember the first time we met? The hotel bar. No. I frowned. What? Evelyn looked almost nervous, which immediately made me nervous. The hotel wasn't the first time I saw you. I stared. What are you talking about? She hesitated. Last spring. My confusion deepened. Where? Campus. I waited. You were outside the economics building. I don't remember. You weren't supposed to. What happened? Evelyn leaned against the counter. There was an older maintenance worker carrying boxes. I vaguely remembered. Maybe. You stopped to help him. Okay. You were late. I blinked. How do you know? Because you kept checking your phone. That sounded like me. You carried the boxes anyway. I shrugged. That's normal. No. Her voice was quiet. Not everyone does things when nobody important is watching. I stared at her. You remembered me? Yes. From that. Yes. My heartbeat changed. So when we met at the hotel, I recognized you. I took a step back. Not angry. Just stunned. You knew who I was. Not your name. But you'd seen me. Once. Evelyn. I know. Why didn't you tell me? She looked down. Because it sounded strange. I laughed once. We got married the next day. I think strange was already happening. That made her smile. But I couldn't stop thinking. She had noticed me before I'd noticed her. The hotel hadn't been completely random. Not to her. Did that affect your decision? Yes. Honest. Immediate. How much? She looked at me. Enough. The room went quiet. Suddenly, our story felt different. I had thought we were two strangers making an impossible decision. But Evelyn hadn't seen me as a complete stranger. She had remembered me. Ryan. I looked at her. If that bothers you. It doesn't. She stopped. It surprises me. Okay. But it doesn't bother me. Relief crossed her face. I smiled. So Professor Hayes was watching students before she married them. Her eyes narrowed. Don't ruin the moment. I laughed. Sorry. I'm serious. So am I. I stepped closer. Actually, I think it's kind of sweet. You do? Yeah. She looked suspicious. Why? Because now I know you weren't completely insane. She hit my arm. I laughed, then caught her hand. It happened naturally. Her fingers stayed in mine. Neither of us moved. The humor faded. I looked at her. Evelyn looked back. And for the first time, I didn't think, my professor, or the stranger I married. I just thought, Evelyn, my wife, a woman who had noticed me before I knew she existed. A woman who made room in her closet for me. A woman who hated when I walked past her without saying hello. A woman I was becoming dangerously attached to. Monday morning, everything went wrong. Not badly. Not yet. But enough to remind us secrets never stayed simple. I was leaving the library when Evelyn came down the steps. Alone. We saw each other. Our agreement said, keep walking. So I did. Then I heard, Ryan. I stopped. Not Professor Hayes. Ryan. I turned. Evelyn stood several feet away. For half a second, neither of us remembered where we were. Then I noticed a student standing near the entrance, watching us. Evelyn noticed too. Her expression changed instantly. Professional. Mr. Carter. Professor Hayes. She held up a folder. You left this after class. Perfect recovery. I walked over. Took it. Thank you. Our fingers touched. 1 second. Maybe less. But the student by the entrance was still looking. Curious. I walked away. My phone buzzed 2 minutes later. Evelyn asterisk that was close. Asterisk I replied. Me asterisk you call me Ryan. Asterisk Evelyn asterisk I know. Asterisk then. Evelyn asterisk I forgot. Asterisk I smiled. Me asterisk Professor Hayes losing control. Asterisk her reply came instantly. Evelyn asterisk don't push your luck. Asterisk I put my phone away. Still smiling. I didn't know it then. But the student outside the library had noticed more than we realized. Not enough to know the truth. Just enough to become curious. And curiosity, on a college campus, had a way of becoming gossip. Gossip had a way of becoming photographs. And photographs had a way of destroying secrets. By the 4th week of my marriage, I had discovered that keeping a secret was surprisingly easy. Keeping a secret while living with the person you were hiding? Much harder. Keeping that secret while she taught one of your classes? Nearly impossible. And keeping it while half the university seemed weirdly interested in Professor Evelyn Hayes' personal life? That was starting to feel like a full-time job. Unfortunately, I already had one of those. It was called senior year. You're doing it again. I looked up from my laptop. Noah was sitting across from me in the student center, eating fries and looking far too pleased with himself. Doing what? Smiling at your phone. I immediately stopped smiling. I wasn't. You absolutely were. My mother texted me. Your mother makes you smile like that. She's hilarious. Noah held out his hand. Show me. No, because it's not your mother. Because you're invasive. He leaned back. There's definitely a woman. I looked down at my phone. The message on the screen read, Evelyn * dinner tonight? * underneath. Evelyn *, and before you say you're busy, I checked your schedule. * I had replied. Me *, that's concerning behavior for a professor. * her answer. Evelyn * good thing I'm asking as your wife. * then, Evelyn * 7:00. Don't be late. * yeah. Showing Noah probably wasn't an option. Why are you so interested in my love life? I asked. Because 3 weeks ago you got dumped. Thanks for the reminder. And now you're suddenly happy. I'm always happy. Noah stared at me. Ryan, fine. I closed my laptop. I'm doing better. Because of someone. I hesitated. That was the problem. I wanted to tell him. Not everything. Maybe just *K. Remember Professor Hayes? Funny story. She's my wife. * then I imagined Noah's reaction. Then I imagined him telling one person. That person telling another. And within 12 hours, the entire campus discovering the truth. No, I lied. I'm just moving on. Noah watched me for a moment, then nodded. Good. That simple response made me feel slightly guilty. He was my friend. Eventually, I'd have to tell him. Eventually, at exactly 7 that evening, I unlocked Evelyn's apartment. I had stopped knocking 2 weeks ago. That should have felt strange. It didn't. Evelyn, kitchen. I walked in, then stopped. She was cooking. Actually cooking. There were vegetables on the counter. Something simmering on the stove. A cookbook lay open beside her. I stared. She noticed. What? Should I call someone? Her eyes narrowed. What? Emergency services. Ryan, there's an active cooking situation. She pointed the wooden spoon at me. Leave. I laughed. Sorry. I walked over and looked into the pan. What is it? Chicken. Was it always that color? She looked down, then at the cookbook, then back at the pan. Probably. That wasn't reassuring. I reached for the spoon. She moved it away. No. Let me help. I can cook. I believe in you. No. You don't. Not remotely. She glared at me. I smiled. Then she surrendered the spoon. Fine. 20 minutes later, we'd abandoned her recipe and ordered pizza. Evelyn sat on the counter looking offended. I followed the instructions. You skipped step 4. Step 4 was unnecessary. It said lower the heat. Details. Important fire-related details. She crossed her arms. I have 2 graduate degrees. And yet pizza saved our marriage. That finally made her laugh. I leaned against the counter opposite her. This was becoming normal. That thought hit me unexpectedly. Normal. Not the kind of normal Rachel had called predictable. Something different. Comfortable. I knew where Evelyn kept the plates. She knew I hated mushrooms on pizza. I knew she became quiet when she was tired. She knew I needed coffee before conversation in the morning. Little things. Nothing dramatic. But maybe that was how someone became part of your life. Not all at once. One tiny habit at a time. Why are you staring at me? I blinked. Evelyn was watching me. I wasn't. You were. I was thinking. About. I hesitated. Us. Her expression softened. What about us? I sat beside her. Do you realize we've been married almost a month? 26 days. I looked at her. You really are counting. Obviously. That's adorable. Don't. I smiled. Professor Hayes is embarrassed. I'm going to make tomorrow's lecture extremely difficult. Abuse of power. You have independent grading. Then you're powerless. She looked offended. I laughed. Then she bumped her shoulder against mine. A small gesture. Easy. Familiar. I looked at her. She didn't move away. Neither did I. Evelyn. Yeah. Why haven't you told your parents? Her body became slightly still. There it was. One subject we hadn't really discussed. She looked toward the kitchen. They'll make it complicated. How? My mother will want a wedding. We're already married. That won't stop her. I laughed. I'm serious. I know. My father will investigate you. That stopped me. Investigate. Financial background. Family. Career prospects. That sounds healthy. It isn't. And your mother? She'll probably ask how many grandchildren we're planning. I nearly inhaled my drink. Evelyn laughed. See? Okay. I held up my hands. Maybe we wait. Thank you. But eventually, I know. She looked at me. We can't hide forever. The words landed differently than she intended, because she was talking about her family. But I immediately thought about campus. Our marriage. The student who had watched us outside the library. Noah's questions. The forum posts. No, I said. We can't. The next morning, campus gossip got worse. Not about us. About Evelyn and Professor Grant. Someone had posted another picture. This one from a faculty reception. They were standing beside each other. Again, that was it. The internet had apparently decided this constituted romance. I was walking to class when I heard two students behind me. I heard they're actually dating. Hayes and Grant. Yeah, honestly, they make sense. I kept walking. Very calmly. Extremely calmly. Then, she's way out of his league. Though, okay, that student had excellent judgment. Still, I kept walking. I reached the lecture hall early. Evelyn wasn't there yet. Noah arrived 2 minutes later. Did you see? I knew immediately. What? The forum? No. Lie. He pulled out his phone. Professor Hayes and Grant. People need hobbies. Noah laughed. You sound annoyed. I'm annoyed by bad journalism. It's a campus forum. Exactly. Still, he studied me. You're weirdly defensive of her. My pulse changed. She's a good professor. Okay. And people shouldn't invent stories about someone's personal life. Okay. And Grant isn't even attractive. Noah stared at me. I realized I'd gone too far. What? Nothing. No. What? He slowly smiled. You have a crush on Professor Hayes. I nearly dropped my pen. No. You do. No. Oh my God. Noah. This explains everything. It explains nothing. The staring. I'm listening. The arguments. Academic engagement. The weird jealousy about Grant. I'm not jealous. Noah leaned back. This is incredible. You're an idiot. You're in love with Professor Hayes. That word hit me harder than it should have. Love. My instinct was to deny it immediately. But for 1 second, I didn't. Then the door opened. Evelyn entered. Noah leaned closer. Your girlfriend's here. I kicked his chair. Hard. Ow. Evelyn looked toward us. Is there a problem? Gentlemen. Professor voice. Noah shook his head. No. Professor Hayes. Her eyes moved to me. Mr. Carter. I looked at my wife. No problem. Something in her expression suggested she knew I was lying. After class, Evelyn didn't call me to her office. Good. We had learned. Instead, my phone buzzed while I was walking downstairs. Evelyn asterisk what's wrong? Asterisk I replied. Me asterisk nothing. Asterisk 3 dots. Evelyn asterisk you're terrible at lying. Asterisk me asterisk Noah thinks I have a crush on you. Asterisk there was a longer pause. Then, Evelyn asterisk do you? Asterisk I stopped walking. Students moved around me. Someone bumped my shoulder. I barely noticed. Do you? Simple question. Dangerous answer. I typed. Me asterisk you're my wife. Asterisk her reply came quickly. Evelyn asterisk that wasn't my question. Asterisk I stared at the screen. She was right. Marriage and love weren't the same thing. We knew that better than anyone. I didn't answer. Not because the answer was no. That was the problem. That evening, I went back to my apartment. My old apartment. For the first time in almost a week. It felt strange. Too quiet. I opened the refrigerator. Nothing useful. My bedroom looked exactly the same. But somehow it didn't feel like mine anymore. There was no Evelyn complaining about my shoes near the door. No stack of academic papers on the table. No ridiculous professor mug. No second toothbrush. I sat on the edge of my bed. Then my phone buzzed. Evelyn asterisk are you coming home? Asterisk home. There it was again. I typed. Me asterisk I'm at my apartment. Asterisk a minute passed. Evelyn asterisk go. Asterisk just that. Oh, I knew her well enough now to hear the disappointment inside one word. Me asterisk why? Asterisk Evelyn asterisk no reason. Asterisk lie. I smiled. Me asterisk Professor Hayes. Asterisk Evelyn asterisk don't. Me asterisk does my wife miss me? No response. 10 seconds. 20. Then, Evelyn asterisk maybe. Asterisk that was all it took. I stood, grabbed my jacket, and went home. Her home. Our home. Whatever it was becoming. When I opened the door 40 minutes later, Evelyn was on the couch. She looked up, tried to hide her smile. Fail. I thought you were staying at your apartment. I changed my mind. What? I dropped my keys on the table. Someone missed me. I said maybe. Same thing. It isn't. I sat beside her. She tried to look annoyed, then immediately leaned against me. I laughed. You're proving my point. Be quiet. Her head rested on my shoulder. I looked down at her. Can I ask you something? Depends. Do you have a crush on me? She lifted her head. What? I smiled. You asked me. By text. Still counts. Evelyn studied me. Then something unexpected happened. She became nervous. Actually nervous. I married you. That wasn't my question. She narrowed her eyes. I smiled. See, you're annoying. Answer. She looked away. Yes. One word. My heartbeat changed. I had expected teasing. Deflection. Anything except immediate honesty. Yes. She looked back. I like you, Ryan. There was no joke in her voice. A lot. For once. I had absolutely nothing clever to say. Evelyn smiled faintly. Now you. That's unfair. Marriage isn't fair. I thought you were an economist. Answer. I looked at her. At the woman who had somehow become part of every day. At the woman who could terrify an entire lecture hall and then text me because she missed me. At my wife. I like you too. Her smile changed. Softer. Brighter. And something inside me settled. Not love. Maybe not yet. But definitely not nothing. The next few days were dangerous. Because once we'd admitted we liked each other, pretending at school became harder. Much harder. Every glance meant something. Every accidental meeting became a private joke. Every time someone mentioned Professor Grant, Evelyn looked toward me just to see my reaction. She enjoyed torturing me. I was beginning to understand that about her. Then Friday happened. I was leaving the economics building when someone called my name. Ryan. I turned. A girl from my statistics seminar hurried toward me. Madison Reed. We'd worked on a project together the previous semester. Hey, do you have a second? Sure. She held up her laptop. I'm completely lost on the regression assignment. I laughed. That's reassuring. Why? I thought I was the only one. She smiled. We sat on a bench and went through the assignment. Nothing unusual. Nothing romantic. At least, not to me. 20 minutes later, Madison closed her laptop. You saved my life. That's dramatic. I'm serious. She hesitated. Then, can I buy you dinner? I blinked. For homework. She smiled. Not exactly. Oh, there it was. I suddenly understood. Before I could answer, I noticed someone behind Madison. Evelyn. Across the courtyard. Walking beside Professor Lang. Her eyes were on us. More specifically, on Madison. Interesting. Very interesting. I almost smiled. Then remembered I needed to answer. Madison. I'm sorry. Her expression fell slightly. I'm seeing someone. Not technically a lie. She nodded. Of course. Sorry. No. It's okay. She smiled. Had to try. After she left, I checked my phone. Nothing. 5 minutes. Still nothing. 10. Then, Evelyn asterisk dinner tonight. Asterisk very normal. Too normal. I replied. Me asterisk sure. Asterisk then. Me asterisk Madison invited me too. Asterisk 3 dots appeared instantly. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally. Evelyn asterisk who is Madison? Asterisk I laughed out loud. That night, I walked into the apartment. Evelyn was in the kitchen. Hi. Hi. She didn't turn. Oh, this was going to be fun. I took off my jacket. How was your day? Fine. Mine was interesting. Good. I got invited to dinner. She finally looked at me. I heard. You heard. I saw. I walked closer. She's nice. Wonderful. Smart too. Ryan. I couldn't stop smiling. What? You're enjoying this? A little. She crossed her arms. I'm not jealous. Of course. I'm not. Definitely. You're married. To who? Her eyes narrowed. I laughed. Then stepped closer. Relax. I am relaxed. I said no. That stopped her. What? I told her I'm seeing someone. Evelyn's expression softened. You did. Obviously. Did you say who? No. Good. Then, after a beat. Although, I waited. She looked annoyed again. I don't like that nobody knows. There it was. The same frustration I'd felt about Grant. I know. People think you're single. People think you're dating Michael. Michael is 41. You keep saying that like it's relevant. She laughed, then became serious. How long do we do this? I didn't have an answer. Until now, keeping the marriage secret had seemed temporary and easy. But we were changing. Our feelings were changing. And pretending nothing existed between us was becoming harder every day. Until graduation, I suggested. Evelyn immediately shook her head. That's 8 months. Too long. Yes. The speed of her answer made me smile. She noticed. Don't you really like being married? I like being married to you. That shut me up. Completely. Evelyn realized what she'd said. Her expression changed. But she didn't take it back. I stepped closer. So do I. Her eyes lifted to mine. The distance between us disappeared. For a second, I thought this was it. The moment we'd been circling for weeks. But instead, Evelyn rested her forehead against mine. Nothing more. And somehow that felt more intimate than rushing anything. Ryan. Yeah. I don't want to hide forever. We won't. Promise. I smiled. Promise. 3 days later, someone took the first photograph. Not the photograph that would eventually expose everything. That came later. This one seemed harmless. Evelyn and I were leaving a bookstore downtown on Sunday afternoon. Off campus. No university buildings. No students that we recognized. I was carrying her books because she'd bought too many. She was laughing because I complained about it. At one point, she reached over and straightened the collar of my coat. I caught her hand. She smiled. A completely ordinary moment between two married people. Across the street, someone raised a phone. Neither of us noticed. The picture didn't show anything scandalous. It didn't show a kiss. It didn't show our rings clearly. It only showed Dr. Evelyn Hayes standing very close to a man who looked suspiciously like one of her students. By Monday morning, the photo was sitting anonymously in someone's camera roll. By Tuesday, it had been sent to a friend. By Wednesday, that friend had recognized me. And by Thursday night, the first message appeared on the Westbridge campus forum. Does anyone else think the guy with Professor Hayes looks like Ryan Carter from her behavioral economics class? Our secret hadn't exploded yet, but the fuse had been lit. There are two kinds of secrets. The first kind becomes easier to keep with time. The second kind becomes heavier. Our marriage had officially become the second kind. By Thursday morning, the campus forum post had 38 comments. 38. I knew because I had counted them, which was probably unhealthy. The original post was simple. Does anyone else think the guy with Professor Hayes looks like Ryan Carter from her behavioral economics class? Underneath was the photograph. Evelyn and me outside the bookstore. Her hand near my collar. My hand around hers. We weren't kissing. We weren't embracing. Technically, We weren't doing anything two friends couldn't do. Unfortunately, nobody on the internet believed in boring explanations, especially college students. Comment number 1. That's definitely Carter. Number 2. Maybe they just ran into each other. Reasonable person. I like them. Number 3. Why is she fixing his collar then? I frowned. Because she was my wife. Obviously. Number 6. Wait. Isn't Professor Hayes married? That was the problem. People knew Evelyn had recently updated some university paperwork to indicate she was married. They just didn't know to whom, which meant the photograph didn't look romantic. It looked suspicious. By comment 12, someone had written, if she's married and that's her student, this could get messy. I stopped reading. You're doing it again. I looked up. Noah was sitting beside me before class. Doing what? Looking like you want to fight your phone. I don't. You've refreshed the same page 6 times. I locked the screen. Bad Wi-Fi. Sure. Then Noah leaned closer. You saw the Hayes post. My stomach tightened. What post? His expression immediately became suspicious. Why did you answer that quickly? I didn't. You did. He pulled out his phone. I pretended to be interested. Pretending was becoming exhausting. Noah opened the picture, then zoomed in. I wanted to grab his phone and throw it through the window. Instead, I remained calm. Very calm. That's you. Right. There it was. Direct. No escape. I looked at the photograph. Looks like me. Ryan. What? I've known you 4 years. Congratulations. That's your jacket. Lots of people own black jackets. That's your watch. Okay. Fewer people own my watch. And those are definitely your stupid white sneakers. I looked down at my shoes. I suddenly hated them. Noah stared at me. What were you doing with Professor Hayes? I needed an answer. A truthful answer that wasn't the truth. We ran into each other downtown. At a bookstore. Yes. And we talked. She touched your face. My collar. Same region. Not remotely. Noah narrowed his eyes. Then, is she the woman? My heart stopped. What woman? The woman you've been seeing. I laughed too loudly. No, that was terrible. Noah knew it. I knew it. Possibly everyone within 15 feet knew it. Before he could continue, Evelyn entered. The room quieted. And for the first time since I'd met her, I saw something different in her face. Not fear. Evelyn wasn't easily frightened. But tension. She knew. Of course she knew. Her eyes found mine. 1 second. Then Professor Hayes took over. Good morning. The lecture was completely normal. That somehow made everything worse. Evelyn discussed behavioral models. Students took notes. I answered 2 questions. Nobody said anything about the photograph, but I could feel people looking at me. Not constantly. Just enough. A glance from the row behind me. Whispering near the door. Someone checking their phone, and then looking toward Evelyn. The secret had entered the room. Nobody could see it, but everyone could feel something was there. When class ended, I packed quickly. Ryan. I stopped. That wasn't Evelyn. It was Madison. She stood beside my desk. Hey. She lowered her voice. Are you okay? Why wouldn't I be? She glanced toward the front. Evelyn was speaking with another student. The forum. I sighed. Yeah, I don't believe it. That surprised me. You don't. Madison shook her head. People are ridiculous. I relaxed slightly. Thanks. I mean, Professor Hayes doesn't seem like someone who'd risk her career over a student. My relaxation disappeared. Right. Because nobody knew there was nothing improper to hide. Exactly. Madison smiled. Still, maybe stay away from cameras. I laughed. Good advice. Then she touched my arm. Friendly. Nothing more. Unfortunately, I looked toward Evelyn at exactly the wrong moment. She had seen it. Her expression didn't change, but I knew my wife. That tiny narrowing of her eyes. Oh, yes. Professor Hayes was jealous. Great. At least one part of this disaster was entertaining. My phone buzzed 5 minutes later. Evelyn asterisk, who was that? Asterisk, I laughed. Me asterisk Madison. Asterisk, the typing indicator appeared instantly. Evelyn asterisk again. Asterisk me asterisk, she asked if I was okay. Evelyn asterisk, why was touching your arm necessary? I stopped walking. Then typed. Me asterisk dr. Hayes. Is this an academic question? Asterisk, no response. 5 seconds. 10. Then, Evelyn asterisk, come home after class. Asterisk, I smiled. Me asterisk, am I in trouble? Asterisk, Evelyn asterisk, possibly. Asterisk, marriage was wonderful. When I arrived home that afternoon, Evelyn was standing by the windows, still wearing her work clothes, still looking like Professor Hayes. But the moment the door closed, her shoulders dropped. Hey. I put my backpack down. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then I asked, how bad? She knew what I meant. Not terrible. Yet. No. I walked closer. Did the department contact you? Professor Lang did. And she knows the truth. So she's not concerned about misconduct. Good. But if the speculation grows, the chair may want us to address it. Publicly. Possibly. I nodded. That was coming sooner than we'd expected. Evelyn looked toward the window. Ryan. Yeah. I'm sorry. That surprised me. For what? This. She gestured vaguely. The gossip. You didn't post the picture. No. But you're the one who has more to lose. I frowned. How? Your last year here shouldn't become about me. I laughed softly. Evelyn. I'm serious. So am I. I stepped closer. You're acting like I'm trapped in this. Aren't you? The question caught me off guard. Her eyes finally met mine. There was something beneath the composure. Something I'd never seen from her before. Doubt. You're 22, she said. You're supposed to have a normal senior year. Normal is overrated. This could affect friendships, your reputation, maybe job interviews if the story gets ugly. And you didn't sign up for that. I stared at her. Evelyn. What? I signed a marriage license. She almost smiled. I'm serious. So am I. I took another step. I'm here because I want to be. Her expression remained uncertain. You barely knew me. That was true when we got married. And now, that word landed between us. I knew more now. I knew she drank coffee too hot and always regretted it. I knew she hated raisins. I knew she read student evaluations even though she pretended she didn't care. I knew she called her sister every Sunday. I knew she slept on the right side of the bed. I knew she became quiet when something hurt her. I knew she liked being held more than she'd ever admit outside this apartment. And I knew that whenever something happened, good or bad, she had become the first person I wanted to tell. I know enough. Her voice softened. Enough for what? I didn't answer immediately, because suddenly I knew where this conversation was going. And for once, I didn't want to hide behind a joke. Enough to know I don't regret marrying you. She looked down. I know. No. I reached for her hand. You don't. Her fingers tightened around mine. Then tell me. So I did. I don't want to go back. She looked at me. Back to what? Before you. Silence. The words surprised both of us. But once they existed, I knew they were true. Before Evelyn, my future had been organized. Graduation, job, Rachel, apartment, maybe marriage eventually, maybe children. Everything had existed in neat boxes. Then Rachel left. The boxes collapsed. And Evelyn arrived. Nothing about her fit the plan. She was 7 years older. She was my professor. She came from a family whose net worth probably contained numbers I couldn't comfortably pronounce. We had married before our first real date. None of it made sense. And somehow, I was happier than I'd been in years. I don't want normal, I said. Evelyn watched me quietly. I want this. Her eyes became suspiciously bright. She looked away. Don't. I smiled. Are you crying? No, Evelyn. I'm not. I touched her cheek. Professor Hayes. She glared at me. Don't ruin this. I laughed softly. Then she stepped into me and wrapped her arms around my waist. I held her. No hesitation. Not anymore. After a while, she spoke against my chest. Madison still annoys me. I burst out laughing. You were having an emotional moment. I'm capable of multiple emotions. Apparently, she touches you too much. She touched my arm once. Twice. I pulled back. You counted. Evelyn looked completely serious. Yes. I smiled. You like me. I already admitted that. A lot. She narrowed her eyes. Careful. I think it's cute. Ryan, you want to fight Madison? No. Professor Grant. That's different. How? Michael doesn't touch me. I stared, then laughed. Evelyn tried to stay serious. Failed. And just like that, the tension broke. That night, we cooked together. Technically, I cooked. Evelyn cut vegetables under supervision. I know how to use a knife. Your chicken incident suggests otherwise. That was heat-related, still traumatic. She bumped me with her hip. I smiled. This was what I meant. Not the marriage certificate. Not the secrecy. Not even the attraction. This. Ordinary evenings. Someone standing beside you while dinner cooked. Someone stealing food from the cutting board. Someone asking about your day and actually listening. Maybe Rachel had been right about one thing. Love could become predictable, but maybe predictable wasn't the enemy. Maybe being taken for granted was. Those weren't the same thing. I was beginning to understand that. After dinner, Evelyn sat at the table working. I opened my laptop across from her. For almost an hour, we barely spoke. Then she looked up. Ryan, your internship application. I groaned. What about it? The deadline is next week. I know. Have you finished the essay? Almost. Meaning, emotionally. I'm finished. Ryan. I laughed. I'll do it. Tonight. You're not my mother. No. She returned to her laptop. I'm worse. Definitely. Then she added, I want you to get it. That softened me. The internship was competitive. A major consulting firm in Boston. Before Evelyn. I'd almost abandoned the application because Rachel and I had once planned to move to Chicago after graduation. That future no longer existed. Evelyn had been the one to tell me to apply. Not because the job kept me near her. She'd actually sent me opportunities in New York and San Francisco too. Why are you helping me leave Boston? I'd asked. Her answer had been simple. Because your career shouldn't be built around keeping me comfortable. That was Evelyn. Possessive about hugs. Jealous of Madison. Completely unwilling to shrink my future for herself. I loved that about her. The thought appeared so naturally that I didn't recognize it immediately. Then I froze. I loved that about her. Loved. I stared at the laptop. My heartbeat changed. No. Wait. Liking something about someone wasn't the same as, was it? I looked across the table. Evelyn was reading. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Completely unaware that my brain had just crashed. I thought about Noah's question. You're in love with Professor Hayes. I dismissed it. Then Evelyn had asked, do you have a crush on me? I'd admitted I liked her. That had felt safe. Manageable. But this wasn't manageable. because suddenly I could imagine losing her. And the thought hurt. Badly. Ryan. I blinked. Evelyn was watching me. What? You've been staring at the same paragraph for 5 minutes. Thinking. About the essay? No. What? Then. You. I almost said it. Instead. Nothing. Her eyes narrowed. You're terrible at lying. I know. She waited. I closed my laptop. Can I ask you something weird? We got married after knowing each other one day. Fair. I took a breath. How do you know when you love someone? Evelyn went completely still. There it was. I'd said it. Not exactly, but close enough. She didn't tease me. That made it more terrifying. After a moment, she closed her laptop too. I don't think there's one answer. Helpful. I'm serious. She thought. Maybe when their happiness matters to you even when it doesn't benefit you. I nodded slowly. Maybe when you don't just want them during the exciting parts. Okay. You want the boring parts too. That one hit me. The boring parts. Dinner. Homework. Laundry. Coffee. Sitting in silence. I wanted all of it. Evelyn continued. Maybe when you stop asking what they add to your life and start realizing they've become part of how you imagine it. I looked at her. That was exactly it. She was inside every version of tomorrow now. I hadn't invited her there. She had simply appeared, like everything else about us. Unexpected, impossible, and suddenly essential. What? Evelyn asked quietly. I smiled nervously. No reason. Ryan. I said no reason. She studied me, then smiled. Not her teasing smile. Something gentler. Okay. She let me escape. For now. The following afternoon, my mother called. I was walking back from campus. Hi, Mom. Ryan. That tone. Something was wrong. What happened? Nothing happened. Then why are you using my full name voice? You haven't visited in a month. I'm busy. You're 15 minutes away. Boston traffic makes that emotionally 45. She ignored me. Dinner Sunday. I sighed. Mom, your brother will be here. Okay. And bring whoever you've been seeing. I stopped walking. What? Don't pretend. My mother had always possessed a terrifying ability to know when I was hiding something. I don't know what you're talking about. Ryan. There it was again. You're never at your apartment. How do you know? I dropped off mail. Oh, your refrigerator contained mustard, water, and one yogurt that expired 3 weeks ago. That's a balanced diet. Who is she? I closed my eyes. This was getting dangerous. Mom. Sunday. 6. She's busy. Then ask. She's very busy. Ryan. Fine. Good. She hung up. I stared at my phone. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That evening, I told Evelyn. She was brushing her hair. My mother wants to meet you. The brush stopped. What? Sunday dinner. Evelyn turned. Does she know? No. Ryan. I haven't told anyone. She invited me. She knows I'm seeing someone. How? Maternal surveillance. Evelyn stared at me. Then, unexpectedly, I'll go. I blinked. Really? Of course. You don't have to. I want to meet your family. She said it so simply, like it mattered. Then she frowned. Does your mother like flowers? Yes. What kind? I don't know. Ryan. Why would I know? You should know. You're judging me. Yes. I smiled. You nervous? No. Too quick. I walked closer. Evelyn Hayes is nervous about meeting my mother. I'm not. Your face says otherwise. My face says nothing. Professor Face. Exactly. I laughed, then kissed her forehead. The action happened before I thought about it. We both froze. My lips had touched her skin for maybe 1 second. Nothing dramatic, but it was the first kiss we'd shared since becoming something real. Evelyn looked up. I looked down. Neither of us moved. Ryan. Yeah. Do that again. My heart stumbled. So I did. Slower this time. Her eyes closed. When I pulled back, she smiled, and I knew I was in trouble. Serious trouble. Because whatever word I'd been afraid to use at the kitchen table, it wasn't going away. Sunday arrived too quickly. Evelyn changed outfits 3 times. I watched from the couch. You teach lectures to 200 people. That's different. You've presented research internationally. Different. You terrify graduate students. Ryan. My mother is 5'4". Evelyn turned. Does she know we got married without telling her? Not yet. Exactly. Good point. Eventually, Evelyn chose a cream sweater, tailored pants, and a coat that probably cost more than my laptop. She looked elegant, but not Professor Hayes elegant. Just Evelyn. She held flowers and a bottle of wine for my parents. And dessert. I stared at everything. Are you trying to become their favorite child? Maybe. You're dangerous. My mother opened the door. Her eyes went directly to Evelyn, then to me, then back to Evelyn. I saw the exact second recognition happened. Not because she knew Evelyn personally, because Professor Hayes had appeared on Westbridge's website and in local articles. My mother's eyebrows rose. Ryan. Hi, Mom. She ignored me. You must be Dr. Hayes. Evelyn smiled. Please call me Evelyn. My mother looked at me. I wanted the floor to open. Then my father appeared behind her. Whose? He saw Evelyn. Ah, wonderful. Everyone knew my wife except me. Apparently. We entered. My younger brother, Luke, was sitting in the living room. He looked at Evelyn, then at me, then his eyes widened. No way. Luke, you're dating Professor Hayes. Keep your voice down. What? My mother turned. That's what I'd like to know. Evelyn looked at me. I looked at her. We had planned to introduce her as the woman I was seeing. We had not planned to reveal the marriage tonight. Then Luke noticed something. Her hand. More specifically, the ring. His mouth opened. Wait. Oh, no. Is that a wedding ring? Silence. My mother looked at Evelyn's hand. Then mine. I'd gotten so used to wearing my ring that I'd forgotten to take it off. Actually, no, I hadn't forgotten. I simply hadn't wanted to. My mother's face changed. Ryan Carter. Full name. Maximum danger. I took a breath. Okay. Evelyn quietly slipped her hand into mine. That gave me courage. There's something we should probably tell you. My father sat down. Luke looked like Christmas had arrived early. My mother folded her arms. I looked at my wife. She squeezed my hand. Then I said, Evelyn and I are married. Silence. Absolute silence. Then Luke shouted, What? My mother closed her eyes. My father whispered, I need a drink. And Evelyn, my terrifying professor wife, smiled. Because apparently surviving my family was going to be our next exam. There are very few moments in life when every person in a room silently agrees that you have made a terrible decision. Sunday dinner at my parents' house was one of them. My mother stood near the dining table with her arms folded. My father had poured himself bourbon despite the fact that dinner hadn't started. My younger brother, Luke, looked like he had just been handed front row tickets to the greatest disaster of the year. And Evelyn, my wife, my professor, and apparently the only emotionally stable person in the room, was still holding my hand. That helped. A little. You're married. My mother said the words slowly. Not because she hadn't heard me. Because she was clearly giving reality one final chance to correct itself. Yes. To Dr. Hayes. Yes. The Dr. Hayes. I looked at Evelyn. She gave me the smallest shrug. Apparently, there were multiple possible Dr. Hayeses in my mother's world, but only one worth dramatic emphasis. Yes. Luke leaned forward. How? I glared at him. What do you mean? How? Like mathematically. What? He pointed between us. You're you. Strong start. And she's Professor Hayes. Evelyn smiled. Luke continued. She's basically campus royalty. Luke. What? I'm complimenting her. My father took a drink. Son, I think your brother is asking the question everyone else is trying not to ask. I sighed. Of course he was. My mother looked at Evelyn. When did this happen? Evelyn answered before I could. 4 weeks ago. My mother's eyes widened. 4 weeks. Yes. And when did you meet? Silence. I already knew this was going to be the worst part. Evelyn looked at me. I looked at her. Luke noticed. Oh, this is good. Be quiet, I said. My mother narrowed her eyes. When did you meet? I took a breath. The night before. Nobody moved. Then my father slowly put down his glass. I'm sorry. I smiled weakly. We met the night before we got married. Luke collapsed backward onto the couch. This is the best day of my life. You're enjoying this way too much. You married your professor after one day. Technically, she wasn't my professor yet. That did not help. My mother closed her eyes. Ryan. Yes. Please stop adding details. Fair. Evelyn finally stepped forward. Mrs. Carter, please call me Diane. That was encouraging. Maybe. Evelyn nodded. Diane. I understand how this sounds. Luke muttered. Insane. I pointed at him without looking. One more word. He grinned. Evelyn continued. It was impulsive. My mother raised an eyebrow. Very. Yes. But it wasn't careless. That got everyone's attention, including mine. Evelyn squeezed my hand. We talked about finances, careers, expectations, boundaries, family. My father looked at me. You did. I looked offended. I'm capable of serious conversations. Luke laughed. Nobody else did. Traitors. Evelyn smiled slightly. We knew it could fail. My mother's expression softened. Barely. Then why do it? Good question. One I'd asked myself dozens of times. Evelyn looked at me, and suddenly the room felt smaller. Because sometimes certainty is overrated. I stared at her. She continued. I've spent most of my life making safe choices. Good schools. Good career decisions. Everything carefully planned. Her voice stayed calm. But meeting Ryan didn't feel like something I wanted to analyze until it disappeared. My chest tightened. My mother noticed. Mothers noticed everything. So you just married him. Evelyn smiled. Apparently. Luke whispered. Legend. I kicked his shoe. Dinner eventually started. That was probably my father's strategy. People couldn't interrogate me as effectively while chewing. Unfortunately, my mother was talented. So, Evelyn. She cut into her chicken. Ryan says your family is in business. Evelyn glanced at me. I immediately became fascinated by my potatoes. Yes. What kind? Real estate and investment. Luke looked up. Hayes Capital. My mother turned. You know them? Everyone knows them. Great. Here we go. Luke stared at me. Wait. Don't. Her dad is Charles Hayes. Luke, you're married to Charles Hayes' daughter. My father looked at me, then at Evelyn, then slowly back at me. Son. I closed my eyes. Yes. How exactly did you spend 22 years being normal and then accomplish all of this in one weekend? Evelyn laughed. My father smiled. That was the first moment I thought we might survive dinner. My mother asked Evelyn about work. That went much better. Evelyn relaxed when discussing teaching, research, students, why she'd chosen academia instead of joining the family business. You could have gone into the company? Mom asked. Yes. Why didn't you? Evelyn thought for a second. I wanted something that was mine. My mother's expression changed. Respect. I recognized it immediately. That was good. Very good. Then she looked at me. And Ryan is in your class. There it was. The difficult part. Yes, Evelyn said. How are you handling that? I let her explain the independent grading arrangement, the department disclosure, the boundaries. My mother listened carefully. When Evelyn finished, Mom nodded. Good. Just that. Good. I almost sighed with relief. Then she turned to me. And you? What? Are you behaving? Evelyn answered. No. I stared at her. My family laughed. Betrayal. After dinner, my father took me outside. He closed the patio door behind us. I immediately knew what was coming. Are you okay? Not what I expected. I looked at him. Yeah. Really? Yeah. He leaned against the railing. Cold air moved through the backyard. You were with Rachel a long time. I know. Then 4 days later you're married. 3. He stared. Do not correct that detail. Right. He sighed. I'm not judging you. Sounds promising. I'm worried. Fair. I looked through the glass doors. Evelyn was helping Mom clear plates. Luke was talking too much. Evelyn laughed at something he said. My father followed my eyes. You like her? I smiled slightly. Yeah. More than like. That question again. Everyone had apparently coordinated. I don't know. Dad nodded. That's okay. I looked at him. It is. You're married. Not omniscient. I laughed. He continued. You don't have to pretend the relationship is deeper than it is just because you signed papers. That made sense. But don't pretend it's less either. I went quiet. He looked toward Evelyn again. You're looking at her differently than you looked at Rachel. That surprised me. How? With Rachel, you always looked like you were making sure she was happy. I frowned. And Evelyn, you look happy. The distinction hit harder than expected. When we went back inside, my mother had cornered Evelyn in the kitchen. I stopped before entering. Not intentionally. I heard Mom ask, do you love him? There it was again. Apparently no one in my family believed in privacy. Evelyn was quiet. I should have walked away. I didn't. I don't know if I'm allowed to call it love yet, she said. My heartbeat changed. But, my mother asked. Evelyn laughed softly. But I miss him when he isn't there. Silence. I think about whether he's eaten. More silence. I notice things I want to tell him. And he's become the first person I want to call. My chest tightened. And when I imagined this ending, she stopped. My mother waited. Evelyn's voice became quieter. I don't like the feeling. I looked away. I suddenly felt like I was listening to something too private. I stepped back, walked toward the living room, pretended I hadn't heard anything. But the words followed me. We left around 10. My mother hugged Evelyn. A real hug. Not polite. That was significant. Come back next Sunday, she said. Evelyn smiled. I'd like that. Luke pointed at me. Bring Professor Hayes again. She's my wife. Still weird. Go inside. He laughed. My father shook my hand, then pulled me into a quick hug. Call me. I will. We walked toward Evelyn's car. Halfway there, she whispered. I think your mother likes me. She's already replacing me. Understandable. Terrible wife. You married me. I smiled. Again. That phrase. It had become ours. In the car, I didn't mention what I'd overheard. Not immediately. Evelyn drove. Soft music played. The city lights moved past us. Then she asked, what are you thinking? Nothing. Liar. I smiled. You really like my family. I do. My mom likes you. Good. My dad thinks I'm insane. Also reasonable. Luke is already planning to tell everyone. Evelyn's expression changed. Do you think he will? No. You're sure? He's annoying. Not stupid. She relaxed. I watched her hands on the steering wheel. Then I said, I heard you. She glanced over. What? In the kitchen. Her face changed immediately. Oh, I wasn't trying to listen. How much? Enough. Her cheeks became faintly pink. That was rare. I liked it. Ryan. What? Forget it. No. Please. I laughed. Professor Hayes is embarrassed. I will stop the car. Very mature. She looked straight ahead. I'm serious. I became quiet. Then asked, did you mean it? Her fingers tightened slightly around the wheel. Yes. No hesitation. I looked out the window, because suddenly looking at her felt difficult. Not bad. Just intense. I thought about what she'd said. Miss him. Think about him. First person I call. Hate. Imagining the end. Every one of those feelings sounded familiar. Because I had them too. Evelyn. Yeah. I don't want this to end either. She looked at me for half a second. Then back at the road. Good. That's it. She smiled. I'm driving. Convenient. You complain too much. You're married to me. I know. Regret. No. Immediate. Always immediate. I smiled. The next morning, the campus forum post had doubled. Someone had uploaded a second photograph. Not new. Just a crop of the first. Closer. Clearer. My face was identifiable now. The headline had changed. Why was Ryan Carter holding hands with married Professor Hayes? That was worse. Much worse. I stared at my phone. Noah called before I could finish reading. I answered. Morning. What the hell? Good morning to him too. What? Don't what me? I sighed. You saw. Yes. Ryan. I saw. It's not what you think. Then tell me what I think. Fair question. I said nothing. Noah's voice changed. Less amused. More serious. She's married. I know. Ryan. I know. Are you seeing her? The secret had reached the point where lying felt wrong. Not inconvenient. Wrong. Noah was my friend. I closed my eyes. I can't explain over the phone. Silence. Then, that is an absolutely terrifying answer. I know. Are you in trouble? No. Is she? No. Did she manipulate you? I almost laughed. No. Then what the hell is happening? I looked toward Evelyn. She was in the kitchen making coffee. She had already seen the post. Our eyes met. She knew who I was talking to. I took a breath. Noah, yeah. Come over tonight. Another silence. Where? I looked at Evelyn. She nodded once. My wife's apartment. The phone went completely silent. I almost smiled. Then Noah said, "You're what?" I closed my eyes. There was no going back now. My wife. Another long silence. Then, Ryan. Yeah. What did you do? I looked at Evelyn. She was trying not to laugh. I got married. Noah shouted so loudly I had to pull the phone away. And that was how the first person on campus learned the truth. By 6 o'clock that night, Noah Brooks would be sitting across from us in stunned silence. By 8, he would know everything. And by the end of the week, the rest of Westbridge would be asking the same question. Professor Hayes is married to who? Noah arrived at 6:12. He didn't knock. He pounded on the door like someone had died. Evelyn looked up from the couch. He's dramatic. You've met him once. I've heard enough. I opened the door. Noah stood there breathing hard. Eyes wide. Jacket half zipped. He looked at me. Then past me. Then back at me. Tell me you're joking. I'm not. He pushed past me. Evelyn stood. Noah froze again. For several seconds. Nobody spoke. Then he pointed at her. Professor Hayes. Evelyn nodded. Noah. He pointed at me. Ryan. I nodded. Still me. Then he pointed between us. Married. Yes. Noah sat down without being invited. I need water. Evelyn brought him a glass. He accepted it with both hands. Then stared at her wedding ring. Then at mine. Then at me. How long? About a month. His mouth fell open. A month? Yes. You've been married a month. That's generally what about a month means. Don't do sarcasm right now. Fair. He looked at Evelyn. Did he propose? She smiled. No. Noah slowly turned toward me. I closed my eyes. Please don't. His expression became almost joyful. She proposed. Technically. Oh my God. Noah, you got dumped, and then Professor Hayes married you. It wasn't exactly. This is the greatest story I've ever heard. Evelyn laughed. Traitor. Noah leaned forward. Start from the beginning. I sighed. The hotel. His eyebrows rose. What hotel? Evelyn looked at me. I looked at her. Then Noah's eyes widened even more. No, nothing happened. That is not reassuring when you start with a hotel. We talked all night. Mostly. And then I rubbed my forehead. We got married. Noah stared, then laughed. Not a normal laugh. The kind where he bent forward and couldn't breathe. Evelyn looked at me. Your friends are supportive. He gets worse. It took 40 minutes to explain everything. The breakup, the hotel, the marriage, the first class, the independent grading, the secrecy. By the end, Noah looked emotionally exhausted. He put down his glass. So let me understand. Please don't summarize. He ignored me. You married a woman you barely knew. Yes. Then discovered she was your professor. Yes. Then hid it from everyone. For professional reasons. And now the internet thinks she's cheating on her husband with you. I nodded. Noah stared. That is objectively hilarious. Evelyn covered her mouth. I pointed at both of them. I'm surrounded by terrible people. Then Noah became serious. Okay. He leaned back. What happens now? Evelyn answered. We keep monitoring the situation. Monitoring. If it remains gossip, we don't need to turn it into a bigger issue. Noah nodded. And if it gets worse? Evelyn and I exchanged a look. Then we tell the truth. I said. Noah looked at me. Publicly. Probably. He whistled softly. Westbridge will lose its mind. I already knew. The next morning, campus had changed. Not visibly. Buildings were still buildings. Students still complained about assignments. Coffee still tasted terrible. But everywhere I went, I felt eyes on me. Some were imagined. Some weren't. By noon, the forum post had more than 300 comments. Someone had added another photograph. This one from outside Evelyn's apartment building. Not compromising. Just me walking out early in the morning. That was enough. The caption read, "Why is Ryan Carter leaving Professor Hayes' building at 7:10 a.m.? Fantastic." Noah texted, "You are terrible at secrecy." I replied, "Go away." Then, seriously though, wear a hat. I blocked him for an hour. Evelyn was quieter that day. Too quiet. After class, she didn't message me. Didn't ask if I'd eaten. Didn't send one of her ridiculous comments about my participation. At 5, I went home. She was sitting at the dining table. Laptop open. Campus forum on the screen. I walked over. How bad? She turned the laptop toward me. A new post. Not a question this time. A statement. Married Professor Hayes caught in secret relationship with S. Underneath were 3 photos. The bookstore, the apartment building, and one I'd never seen before. Evelyn and me in a parking garage. Her hand on my arm. My face turned toward hers. Completely innocent, but framed differently. It looked intimate. Very intimate. My stomach tightened. Where did they get that? No idea. I scrolled. The comments were worse. Some defended her. Some defended me. Most invented facts. Then I saw one that made my jaw tighten. If she's willing to cheat with a student, what else is she willing to manipulate? Grades? Recommendations? Another. This is why faculty shouldn't be allowed to date students. Another, her husband deserves to know. I laughed once. No humor. He knows. Evelyn looked at me. Ryan, what? Don't read them. Why? Because it won't help. They're attacking you. I know. They're saying you changed my grades. I know. They don't know anything. I know. Her calm made me angrier. How are you not furious? I am. Finally, the word was quiet, but real. Evelyn closed the laptop. I'm also a professor. So I don't get to react publicly just because I'm angry. I stared. That's unfair. Yes, you're allowed to be human. I know. Then stop acting like none of this hurts. That made her look away. There it was. I sat across from her. Tell me. She didn't answer. Evelyn. Her voice came out smaller than usual. I'm afraid they'll think everything I've worked for came from favoritism. My anger disappeared. What? She looked at me. Do you know how hard I worked to be taken seriously this young? I nodded slowly. People already assume things because of my family. Right. Hayes Capital. Her father's name. Her money. I stayed away from the company because I wanted a career nobody could say was handed to me. I listened. And now people are saying I used my position to help my husband. Her mouth twisted slightly. Even though I didn't. I reached across the table. Took her hand. Then we tell them. She looked at me. Now. Yes. Ryan. No. I shook my head. You've done everything right. That doesn't mean you disclosed the marriage to the department. You removed yourself from grading me. Yes. You followed every rule. Yes. Then why are we letting strangers write a fake version? Because we're scared they'll know we're married. Evelyn stared at me. I continued. I don't care if everyone knows. You might when they do. No. Ryan, I'm serious. I squeezed her hand. I'm not embarrassed that you're my wife. Her expression changed. And I'm definitely not letting people call you a cheater because we're trying to protect my senior year from gossip. She looked down. You're sure? Completely. The university moved faster than we expected. At 8 the next morning, Evelyn got an email from the department chair. At 9, I got one from Student Affairs. At 11, we were sitting in a conference room with Professor Lang, Department Chair Dr. Thomas Keller, a university ethics officer, and a Student Affairs administrator. Noah had offered to come. I told him absolutely not. He said he'd wait nearby anyway. Of course he did. Dr. Keller started. This is not a disciplinary hearing. Good opening. Still terrifying. He looked at me. Mr. Carter, you're here because online allegations involved both you and Dr. Hayes. I nodded. Then he looked at Evelyn. We already have your disclosure on file. I know, which helps. The ethics officer opened a folder. To be clear, there is no evidence Dr. Hayes graded Mr. Carter's major assessments. Professor Lang nodded. I've handled all written evaluations and exams since the beginning of term. The Student Affairs administrator looked at me. Did Dr. Hayes ever pressure you academically or personally? I almost laughed. No. Did the relationship begin after you enrolled in her course? No. Dr. Keller looked at me. When did it begin? Evelyn and I exchanged a glance. This was the moment. I answered. Before the semester. How much before? I hesitated. One day. The room became silent. Professor Lang closed her eyes. She already knew. Dr. Keller did not. One day. Yes. The ethics officer looked confused. One day before classes began. Yes. And you were already in a relationship. I took a breath. We were married. Silence. Complete silence. Dr. Keller stared. The Student Affairs administrator blinked. The ethics officer looked at Evelyn. Married. Evelyn nodded. Yes. Before the first class. Yes. Professor Lang quietly said. I told you this would sound strange. I almost laughed. Dr. Keller leaned back. So the allegation that Dr. Hayes is having an affair with a student is false, Evelyn said. Because the student is her husband. Yes. He looked at me. I nodded. That's me. The silence lasted another few seconds. Then, surprisingly, the ethics officer smiled. Well, I almost smiled too. That simplifies one problem. Only one. She looked at the file. The disclosure and grading arrangements were handled correctly. Relief hit. However, she continued. Public speculation is affecting Dr. Hayes' professional reputation. Evelyn nodded. I understand. We can't dictate your personal disclosures. Dr. Keller looked between us. But if the rumors continue, some clarification may be necessary. I answered before Evelyn could. We'll clarify. Her eyes moved to me. I held her gaze. No backing out. Not now. The meeting ended just after noon. No disciplinary action. No academic penalty. No scandal from the university's perspective. Just gossip. Unfortunately, gossip was the part we couldn't control. When we left the building, Noah was sitting on a bench. He stood immediately. Well, we're not expelled or fired. Strong result. Evelyn smiled. Noah looked at her. You okay? That surprised me. He wasn't joking. Evelyn nodded. Yeah, good. Then he looked at me. So when are you telling everyone? Evelyn and I looked at each other. I smiled. Soon. Soon became that afternoon. Not because we planned it. Because the universe apparently hated schedules. Evelyn had a faculty meeting. I had a seminar. Around 3. I walked across the central quad. Students were everywhere. Then someone called. Ryan. I turned. A guy I barely knew from one of my courses stood with two other students. He held up his phone. Is this you? I already knew. The photo. Yeah. Are you dating Professor Hayes? The people around us slowed. Not stopped, but slowed. That was enough. I could have walked away. I should have. Instead, I said, no. The guy looked surprised. So the pictures? I'm not dating her. Someone behind him laughed. Then why are you leaving her apartment? My pulse increased. Then another voice. She's married. Man, there it was. The accusation. The disgust. Like I was participating in destroying someone else's marriage. I looked around. More people were listening now. Phones out. Of course. I could feel the moment getting away from me. Then I saw Evelyn. Across the quad. She had just exited the faculty building. She stopped. Our eyes met. She knew. I saw it instantly. She started walking toward me. People noticed. The crowd became quieter. Professor Hayes approached. Cool. Controlled. Beautiful. And, according to half the university, guilty. She stopped beside me. Not too close. Professional distance. Someone asked, Dr. Hayes, are you having a relationship with Ryan Carter? Silence. Evelyn looked at the student. Then at me. I knew what she was about to do. Take the blame. Protect me. Keep my name out of it as much as possible. Absolutely not. She said, yes, I'm married. The crowd shifted. Whispers. Phones lifted higher. Someone asked, then who's Carter? I looked at Evelyn. Her eyes warned me. Don't. I ignored her. For once. I stepped closer. Reached for her hand. The entire quad went silent. Evelyn stared at me. I laced our fingers together. Then faced everyone. Professor Hayes isn't cheating on her husband. Someone laughed nervously. Another person whispered, what? I looked at my wife. Then back at the crowd. I am her husband. Silence. There are different kinds of silence. Awkward silence. Angry silence. Confused silence. This was none of those. This was the silence of 200 people collectively failing to process reality. Then someone shouted, no way. Another, what? Someone else. You're married to Professor Hayes? Noah's voice came from somewhere behind the crowd. I told you this was going to be amazing. I closed my eyes. Of course he was there. Evelyn started laughing. Actually laughing. In public. That probably shocked everyone almost as much as the marriage. Then someone yelled, Ryan. How? I looked at Evelyn. She looked at me. And for the first time since we got married, I didn't care who was watching. I smiled. Long story. The quad exploded. Questions. Shouting. Phones. Laughter. Disbelief. And just like that, the secret marriage was over. By dinner, every student at Westbridge would know. By midnight, the forum would crash from traffic. And by morning, I would wake up with a new campus identity. Not Ryan Carter. Not the guy from behavioral economics. Not even Professor Hayes' student. I would be known as something far more ridiculous. The guy who somehow married the Ice Queen. By 8 the next morning, Westbridge University had lost its mind. There was no better way to describe it. I knew because my phone started vibrating at 6:42 and didn't stop for the next hour. Messages, calls, screenshots, forum links, social media tags. Most of them from people I hadn't spoken to in months. Apparently, marriage made you popular. Or infamous. Hard to tell. I rolled over and buried my face in the pillow. Beside me, Evelyn was already awake. Of course she was. She was sitting against the headboard with her laptop open, reading something with the calm expression of a woman reviewing student essays. I looked at her. How are you this relaxed? She glanced over. I'm not. You look relaxed. I'm highly trained. That's terrifying. She smiled faintly. My phone buzzed again. I groaned. Evelyn looked at it. Who now? I checked. Noah. Of course. Noah asterisk congratulations. You're trending. Asterisk I stared. Me asterisk go away. Asterisk his reply came instantly. Noah asterisk campus forum has 3 separate threads about you. Then, Noah asterisk 1 is literally titled How did Ryan Carter pull this OFF? I closed my eyes. Evelyn started laughing. You think that's funny? A little. Everyone thinks I performed some impossible romantic miracle. You did marry me. Your ego is disgusting. She leaned closer. You like my ego? Unfortunately. Yes. I didn't say that. The largest forum thread had more than 1,000 comments. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The top post was a screenshot from the quad. Me holding Evelyn's hand. Her looking at me. The caption. Professor Hayes' secret husband is one of her students. Westbridge is insane. Underneath. He didn't even pursue her. Apparently, they were already married before classes started. Another. This man entered senior year with a wife and didn't tell anyone. Another. Imagine complaining about homework when your wife writes the syllabus. I frowned. That's not how grading works. Evelyn looked over. What? People are spreading misinformation. Ryan, it's academically inaccurate. She laughed. Then I found the worst one. He married the Ice Queen. Respectfully. I hate him. I started laughing. Evelyn took my phone. Let me see. No. Too late. She read it. Her smile grew. The Ice Queen. You knew people called you that. Of course. You never told me. You didn't ask. I pointed at her. That answer is banned. She laughed. Then the mood changed. A new email appeared in her inbox. Evelyn read it. Her smile disappeared. I sat up. What? Department chair. Bad. No. She kept reading. There's going to be a statement. About us. About the grading arrangement and disclosure. That made sense. The university needed to make clear there had been no academic misconduct. Are you okay with that? Evelyn nodded. Yes. Then she paused. But this means everyone will know the timeline. I understood immediately. Married before semester. Relationship pre-existing. Independent grading. All clean. All defensible. Still weird. Very weird. Good, I said. She looked at me. Good. Less room for rumors. Evelyn smiled. You're taking this well. I'm married to a professor. Apparently, I've become resilient. She leaned over and kissed my cheek. Good answer. Campus was chaos. Not actual chaos. Nobody was setting things on fire, but socially disaster. The second I walked into the student center, people looked at me. Not subtly. A group near the coffee shop literally stopped talking. I kept walking. Then someone clapped. One person. Slowly. I stopped. Another person joined. Then another. I stared. No. Too late. Someone shouted. Legend. I covered my face. This was my life now. Noah appeared from nowhere. He threw an arm around my shoulders. How does it feel? Terrible. To be famous. To know you. He grinned. People have questions. I don't care. I do. That's your problem. He leaned closer. Seriously, though, everyone wants to know how you met. Nobody needs to know that. The hotel part would destroy campus. Noah. Fine. He held up his hands. Secret. Then he smiled. Mostly. I stared. Define mostly. I told 2 people you met before class started. That's literally public information now. Exactly. I sighed. At least he wasn't telling everyone I'd married Evelyn less than 24 hours after meeting her. That detail could wait. Preferably forever. Class was worse. Much worse. The entire room felt different. When Evelyn entered, everyone went silent. Not normal class silence. Expectant silence. She placed her laptop on the podium. Looked around. Then her eyes landed on me. For the first time, she didn't pretend not to know me. She didn't smile either. Still professional. But no secrecy. Good morning. No one answered. Evelyn raised one eyebrow. That was not rhetorical. A few people mumbled. Good morning. She nodded. Better. Then she looked toward me. Mr. Carter. My stomach dropped automatically. Habit. Yes. Professor Hayes. Half the class started laughing. Evelyn waited until they stopped. Since apparently everyone is unusually interested in my personal life today, perhaps you'd like to explain why you are smiling. I stared at her. She was enjoying this. I'm not smiling. More laughter. Evelyn's expression remained perfectly composed. Interesting. Noah whispered beside me. Marriage hasn't saved you. I muttered, clearly. Then Evelyn continued the lecture as if nothing had happened. Honestly, that helped. She wasn't changing. I wasn't receiving special treatment. The class wasn't becoming a spectacle. Slowly, everyone settled down. By the end, we were discussing economic models again. Normal. Almost. After class, Madison approached me. I braced myself. She smiled. So, you were married. Apparently. She laughed. That's why you turned me down. Yes. Would have been useful information. Sorry. She shook her head. No. I get it. Then, your wife is terrifying. I looked toward Evelyn. She was speaking to a student. She's actually not. Madison stared. That is the most husband thing you've ever said. I laughed. Fair. That afternoon, the university released its statement. Short, professional, clear. Dr. Evelyn Hayes had disclosed her marriage before the semester began. Ryan Carter's major assessments were independently graded. No policy had been violated. No evidence of favoritism existed. The online accusations about an affair were false. That ended the serious part. The jokes, those got worse. Much worse. Someone made a meme of me sitting in class with the caption, "When you forget your homework, but remember you married the professor." Another, Ryan Carter speedran college romance. Noah sent me every single one. I blocked him twice. That evening, Evelyn and I went home together. Actually together. No separate exits. No pretending. No waiting 20 minutes between leaving campus. For the first time, we walked through the faculty parking lot side by side. It felt strange. Free. Evelyn looked at me. How do you feel? Publicly married. That's not a feeling. Exposed. Better. I smiled. What about you? She thought. Relieved. That surprised me. Really? Yes. No more pretending. No. No more walking past each other. Exactly. I reached for her hand. She looked down, then smiled. Careful. What? People might see. I laughed. Too late. She laced her fingers through mine. And somehow, that small thing felt bigger than the announcement in the quad. Because now there was no reason to let go. At home, Evelyn kicked off her shoes and collapsed onto the couch. I stared. Professor Hayes exhausted. Deeply. Should I document this? Come here. I smiled. Very commanding. Ryan. I sat beside her. She immediately leaned into me. There she was. Not the ice queen. Not the famous professor. Just Evelyn. My wife. She rested her head on my shoulder. Today was horrible. I looked down. You handled it well. I hated every second. Still, she sighed. Do you regret telling everyone? No. Immediate. Her eyes lifted. Not even a little. No. What? I thought. Then answered honestly. Because I was getting tired of pretending you weren't important. That silenced her. Evelyn looked at me for a long moment, then smiled. That's dangerously sweet. I have range. Apparently, a week later, campus life began returning to normal. Mostly, people still recognized me, still joked, still asked questions, but eventually, even shocking news became old news. That was human nature. Something new always happened. Someone else became interesting. And for the first time, I could focus on what actually mattered. Us. One Friday night, Evelyn and I went to dinner downtown. No hiding, no checking whether students were nearby, no pretending, just dinner. Halfway through, she asked, "Do you ever think about how stupid this was?" I laughed. Daily. Good. You. Constantly. Excellent marriage foundation. She smiled, then became more serious. Would you do it again? The question landed differently. Not joking, not hypothetical. I looked at her, at the woman I'd married almost by accident, at the professor who had become my wife before I understood what either role meant. Knowing everything. Yes. Your family. Yes. Campus scandal. Yes. Your cooking. She kicked me under the table. Answer. I smiled. Yeah. Her expression softened. Yeah. I'd still do it. Then I added. But I'd ask better questions. She laughed. Like what? Occupation. Reasonable. Employer. Also reasonable. Whether you're secretly famous. I am not famous. Tell that to Westbridge. She rolled her eyes, then asked, "Would you make me ask properly?" I frowned. What? If we met again? She looked at me. If you knew who I was. I smiled. No. Her eyebrows rose. No. I'd ask you. Evelyn went very still. I realized what I'd said. And suddenly, the idea stayed. Not remarriage. We were already married. Something else. A real proposal. One we both remembered clearly. One without a hotel headache. Without chaos. Without a county clerk wondering whether we'd lost our minds. A choice made after knowing. After living. After falling. I didn't say anything more. But the thought remained. 3 weeks later, I bought a ring. Not a wedding ring. She already had one. An engagement ring. Simple. Elegant. Something that looked like Evelyn. Noah came with me. That was a mistake. He spent 40 minutes giving terrible advice. Big diamond. No. Very big diamond. No. Professor-sized diamond. What does that mean? Academic prestige. You should leave. Eventually, I chose one myself. No theatrics. No giant stone. Just something beautiful. Understated. Certain. The opposite of our first decision. I kept it hidden for 2 weeks, which was difficult when you lived with someone observant enough to notice if a mug moved 3 inches. Then graduation season approached. My last semester was moving faster than I expected. Job applications, interviews, final projects. Evelyn helped with none of my coursework. She was extremely proud of that fact, but she helped with everything else. Mock interviews, resume feedback, telling me when I was overthinking, reminding me that rejection from one company wasn't the collapse of civilization. In return, I made dinner. Poor exchange rate. Still, she seemed happy. One night, I got the email. Offer. Boston consulting firm. Full-time. Strong salary. Start date after graduation. I stared at the screen, then called. Evelyn. She came running from the bedroom. What happened? I turned the laptop. Her eyes scanned the email, then widened. You got it. Yeah. She looked at me. You got it. Then she threw her arms around me. I laughed. I got it. I'm proud of you. That was the moment. Not graduation. Not a fancy restaurant. Not some dramatic public gesture. Her hugging me in our apartment because I had achieved something that had nothing to do with her. Supporting me without trying to own the future. I knew. This was my person. A week before graduation, I took Evelyn back to the hotel. The one where we met. She noticed immediately. You are joking. No, Ryan. Trust me. That phrase has historically caused problems. Fair. We went to the hotel bar. Same place. Different night. No heartbreak. No strangers. Just us. We sat near the same corner. Evelyn looked around. This is very dramatic. You're married to me. I know. That explains poor judgment. She smiled. Then I took out the ring. Her smile disappeared. Not in a bad way. Just surprise. Ryan, I know we're already married. Her eyes filled. And I know this is backward. Very. But everything about us is backward. She laughed through tears. I took her hand. The first time, you asked me before either of us knew what we were doing. True. And somehow it became the best decision I've ever made. Evelyn stared at me. So this time, I opened the box. I'm asking. Her hand covered her mouth. I smiled. Dr. Evelyn Hayes. She laughed softly. Will you keep being my wife? She shook her head, crying now. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Excellent. Ryan, is that a yes? She leaned forward and hugged me. Obviously. I laughed. Good. Then she pulled back. Put the ring on. Professor voice. Now. I did. Graduation day arrived under perfect blue skies. My family came. Evelyn's sister came. Even her parents came. That meeting had been complicated enough to deserve its own novel. But we'd survived. My mother cried. Luke shouted something embarrassing from the crowd. No one nearly fell over trying to take pictures. And after the ceremony, I walked through hundreds of graduates looking for one person. I found her near the economics building. Evelyn. Cream dress. Sunglasses. my ring on her hand. She saw me, smiled, and I remembered the first morning. Hotel, headache, a stranger drinking coffee by the window. Back then, I thought I'd ruined my life. Now I knew better. I walked toward her. No hiding, no pretending, no professor and student, just husband and wife. Evelyn opened her arms. I stepped into them. Congratulations, she said. Thanks, graduate, former student. She smiled. Finally, I looked at her. So technically, you're not my professor anymore. No, good. What? I grinned. Because now you have less authority. She laughed. Keep dreaming. I kissed her forehead, then took her hand. And as we walked away from Westbridge together, I finally understood something. The craziest decision of my life hadn't been marrying Evelyn after one day. It had been believing that love was supposed to arrive in the right order. Meet, date, wait, plan, propose, marry. Maybe that worked for some people. For us, we did everything wrong and somehow ended up exactly right. I had started senior year thinking I'd lost the future I wanted. Instead, I found the woman who became my future. By accident, by impulse, by choice. And if I had to do it all again, I'd still walk into that hotel bar. I'd still sit beside the beautiful stranger. I'd still talk until sunrise. And when Evelyn Hayes looked at me and asked the most ridiculous question I'd ever heard, I'd still say yes. Marriage, I learned, doesn't become normal just because everyone knows about it. It simply becomes a different kind of strange. 3 months after graduation, I woke up at 6:17 on a Monday morning because someone was poking my shoulder. Once, twice, 3 times. I kept my eyes closed. No, Ryan, no. You don't even know what I'm asking. It's 6 in the morning. The answer is no. Silence. Then Evelyn poked me again. I opened one eye. My wife was sitting beside me in bed, already dressed for work. Hair perfect, blouse pressed, coffee in one hand. The terrifying Dr. Hayes had returned. What? You promised you'd drive me. I stared at her. Where? Campus. What? My car is being serviced. I closed my eye again. Take mine. I don't like driving yours. What? It's messy. That's discrimination. Ryan. I pulled the blanket over my head. 2 seconds later, she pulled it away. I looked at her. She smiled. Good morning, husband. And despite everything, I smiled back. You're annoying. You married me. Twice. Apparently, her eyes dropped to the engagement ring I'd given her. That still made her smile. Every time. Worth it. Life after Westbridge was surprisingly ordinary. I started working at a consulting firm downtown. Evelyn remained at the university. We moved out of her apartment and into a larger place together. Not because we needed more space, but because we wanted somewhere that belonged to both of us. That distinction mattered. The first weekend, Evelyn wanted everything organized. I wanted pizza. Marriage required compromise. We organized while eating pizza. By the end of the month, the apartment looked like us. Her books, my gaming console, her framed degrees, my embarrassing family photographs, 2 desks, 1 kitchen, 1 closet that she claimed I occupied 70% of despite statistical evidence to the contrary, and 1 photograph from graduation sitting beside our wedding picture. The first wedding picture was ridiculous. We'd taken it at the courthouse. I looked slightly stunned. Evelyn looked far too pleased with herself. Every time someone visited, they asked the same question. Why does Ryan look like he's been kidnapped? Evelyn always answered. Because he had. Terrible woman. The public fascination with our marriage eventually faded. Mostly, Westbridge students still occasionally recognized me. Once, Evelyn and I were buying groceries when a student stopped beside us. He stared at me, then at her, then whispered, "You're him." I looked around. Should I be worried? The guy who married Professor Hayes. Evelyn kept examining tomatoes as though this wasn't happening. Apparently, the student shook his head with genuine admiration. Respect. Then he walked away. I stared after him. Evelyn put a tomato into the cart. You have fans. I hate this. No, you don't. She was right. A little. But there was one thing we hadn't done. A real wedding. My mother reminded us every 14 days. Evelyn's mother reminded us every 7. Our mothers had become terrifyingly efficient once they started communicating. At first, Evelyn resisted. We're already married. So, I asked, so weddings are stressful? You lecture hundreds of students. Students don't ask about flower arrangements. Fair. And my mother wants 300 guests. Mine wants 70. That's 400. That's not how addition works. It feels like 400. Eventually, we compromised. A small ceremony. Family. Close friends. No business associates. No university administration. No 300-person ballroom. Evelyn agreed under one condition. No ice sculptures. I had no idea why that was necessary. Apparently, her mother had ideas. The night before our second wedding, I found Evelyn standing on the balcony, barefoot, wearing one of my shirts. The city stretched beyond her. I stepped outside. You okay? She nodded. Can't sleep. Nervous? A little. I leaned against the railing beside her. Interesting. What? The woman who married a stranger without hesitation is nervous about marrying her husband. She laughed softly. It sounds ridiculous. That's our brand. For a while, we stood in silence. Then she asked, do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't gone to the hotel that night? Sometimes. And I'd probably have spent 3 months trying to win Rachel back. Evelyn frowned. I dislike this alternate universe. Me too. You might have gotten back together. Maybe. She became suspiciously quiet. I smiled. Are you jealous of hypothetical Rachel? No. Professor Hayes. Stop. I laughed and put my arm around her. She leaned into me. Then her voice changed. Ryan. Yeah. I never told you everything. That got my attention. About the first time I saw you. I remembered. Outside the economics building. Me helping a maintenance worker with boxes. What about it? She looked toward the city. I saw you again. I frowned. Before the hotel. Twice. I turned. You said once. I said I'd noticed you before. Technical manipulation. She ignored that. The second time was at the campus coffee shop. When? About 2 weeks later. What was I doing? Studying. Very exciting. You gave your table to an older couple. I barely remembered. And the third. She hesitated. The library. What happened? Nothing. I waited. You were asleep. I stared at her. She started laughing. You watched me sleep. For approximately 5 seconds. Creepy. I know. Extremely concerning. You were drooling on a textbook. My dignity died instantly. I don't drool. You did. Marriage canceled. She laughed harder. I love that sound. So when you saw me at the hotel, I knew exactly who you were. That changed something. Not negatively. It simply completed the story. Why did you sit near me? I was already there. Convenient. It was. And when I started talking, I couldn't believe it. Because the man I'd noticed 3 times had randomly appeared beside me. I smiled. So you had a crush. Evelyn sighed. Apparently. Before we met. Technically. This is incredible. Don't become unbearable. Too late. Then something occurred to me. Wait. She looked suspicious. What? Did you marry me because you'd already decided you liked me? No. That answer came too slowly. Ryan. I stared. Evelyn. She finally surrendered. It helped. I laughed. I knew it. You were still the one who spent 2 hours arguing that marriage was more rational than dating. I was drunk. You were persuasive. I accidentally convinced my stalker to marry me. She hit my shoulder. I caught her hand, then pulled her closer. Seriously. My voice softened. I'm glad you noticed me. Her expression changed. So am I. Our second wedding took place beside a lake outside Boston. Small, bright, exactly what we'd wanted. No giant ballroom. No hundreds of strangers. No ice sculptures. My mother cried before the ceremony even started. My father pretended not to. Luke had somehow convinced Noah they should both give speeches. That terrified me more than marriage ever had. Claire stood beside Evelyn. Noah stood beside me. You nervous? He asked. No. Liar. Maybe. He smiled. Remember when you hid this from me? Best month of my life. You were terrible at it. Still got away with it for weeks. Everyone thought you were having an affair with your professor. I closed my eyes. Why are we discussing this now? Perspective. You're useless. Then the music changed. Everyone stood. And I saw her, Evelyn, walking toward me. For a second, everything else disappeared. Not because she looked beautiful. She did. But because I remembered the hotel, the coffee, the impossible proposal, the classroom, the secret texts, the first time she asked me for a hug, the campus forum, the quad, the apartment, graduation, everything. She reached me, took my hands, and whispered, why are you staring? Trying to decide whether to run. She smiled sweetly. I'll find you. I know. That was the problem. We wrote our own vows. Another mistake. Because Evelyn went first. She looked at me and said, when I first noticed you, you were helping someone who couldn't give you anything in return. My throat tightened. I remembered you because kindness is easy when someone important is watching. Yours wasn't. She squeezed my hands. Then I met you properly on the worst night of your year. A few people laughed softly. You were heartbroken, confused, and absolutely terrible at making responsible decisions. More laughter, including mine. And somehow, you still made me feel safe enough to make an irresponsible decision with you. Her eyes were bright now. I married you before I knew your favorite food. Italian. I whispered. She smiled. Before I knew you hated mornings. Still do. Before I knew how stubborn you were. Debatable. Ryan. Everyone laughed. I shut up. Then she continued. But I knew you were kind. Her voice softened. And somehow that was enough for me to take the first step. I stopped smiling. Now I know everything else. She looked directly at me. And I'd still choose you. That nearly destroyed me. Then it was my turn. I had written vows. Beautiful vows. I'd spent 2 weeks working on them. They were in my pocket. I didn't use them. Instead, I looked at Evelyn. When Rachel left me, I thought I'd lost the future I'd spent years building. Evelyn's fingers tightened around mine. I thought love was supposed to be something you planned correctly. I smiled.